Good morning. It's 5 o'clock, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. And we begin this morning with the rising death toll in Texas flooding. Now standing at over 100 people, and still 10 girls and a counselor from Camp Mystic remain unaccounted for. Now, that disaster has prompted a change here at Coldstream Christian Camp in Robertson County. The director there speaking to WSMV4.
Even though our cabins are very close together, we're going to start having walkie-talkies in the cabins with the counselors at night, just in case there is any type of alert that we need to get to them immediately.
The main threat in Robertson County would be tornadoes, and that camp does have a shelter under the bathhouse. A 10-year-old Nashville boy is dead after a mini bike that he was driving crashed into a tanker truck. This happened on Sunday night when that boy, Deshaun Whitmore, drove out of the parking lot of a market on Main Street and right into the passenger side of a tanker truck. The rear tires of the trailer ran over the boy, killing him. His family is devastated.
There will always be a hole that only he could fill. But I know he's not coming back. He's not coming back. And he deserved better.
Police are trying to identify the owner of the mini bike and how Whitmore got his hands on it. Well, next time you head to the airport, plan to keep your shoes on.
It's a major shift for anyone who flies. The TSA is letting people keep their shoes on. For nearly 20 years, removing shoes has been a hallmark of the general security line. The agency has not officially announced this change, but the policy appears to be taking effect at airports across the country. Passengers who trigger the alarm at the scanners or magnetometers will be required to take their shoes off for additional screening. Passengers with TSA PreCheck have been able to keep their shoes on for years.
That's Laura LaRue with ABC News. Market numbers now brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com.
Major market indexes started the week with losses as new tariff announcements came out of the White House. The Dow was down 422 points at the end of Monday trading. The S&P 500 sank 49, and the Nasdaq lost 189 points. Stocks fell as the administration announced 25% tariffs on South Korea and Japan would kick in August 1st. President Trump also posted plans on social media to impose an additional 10% tariff on BRICS nations, the bloc emerging economies made up of Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. 8 OPEC nations say they will boost oil production by 548,000 barrels a day next month. The increased production could ease gas prices.
We've got Dow futures down 68 points right now. The Nasdaq futures plus 38, and the S&P futures, they're up just a fraction. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are just ahead. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News. Got some road work early on this morning in Brentwood. It's on Concord Road westbound, right past Green Hills Boulevard, and also in Antioch on 24 in the westbound lanes at Hickory Hollow Parkway exit 60. There is a crash that blocks off the right shoulder. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.506 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. And there is a lot of news going on. Hey, real quickly, a couple of things you need to know about for today's radio broadcast. All things politics with Matthew Hurt, our grassroots political analyst. He's going to be here at 6:36. And Lee Reeves, he is going to be joining us at 7:36 this morning. He is the state rep for District 65, which is parts of Franklin, Thompson Station, Leapers Fork, and Fairview. And again, he is going to be here at 7:36 with an announcement. So we'll look forward to that as well. And appreciate you listening to Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, Joan, I know you cannot wait. I'm going to debut a new sound effect at 5:36.
I can't wait, Dan.
I can't wait. It's going to be very exciting.
A new sound effect.
A new sound effect. You know,
is it one that you'll use over and over and over again until we're angry?
It could be.
Yeah.
It could be. But do you know who it's the sound effect for?
No.
Rosie O'Donnell.
Oh, yay.
So looking forward to that.
Yeah.
And there you go. 615-737-9986. The super text line is open. And watch us on YouTube and also Facebook, X, 997WTN.com, and so forth. The Daily Dan poll today. KGB, you're going to have to help me out with exactly how did we word the Daily Dan poll. I might ask a Joan's opinion at 5:36, actually, on the Daily Dan poll and what her opinion is. But it had to do with the mysteriously no longer an issue to the Trump administration, the Epstein list. Yeah. So I'm asking people, really, how much do they care about this? So how did we frame the question, KGB?
So we said, do you believe there was never a list and Epstein killed himself? Yes or no? Just straight up, straightforward. And 96% have said no.
Okay. So everybody believes that there is a cover-up. I believe that there is a cover-up, obviously. We'll talk about that at 5:36 on Nashville's Morning News. How dumb, though? I'm just going to say this, and I'll elaborate later. But how dumb do you think that Dan Bongino and Kash Patel and Pam Bondi feel right about now? Because that's all that they've been talking about for years. They've been talking about this. And then they have to come out, tail between their legs, and say, yeah, all the things that we've said over the past never mind. So we'll talk about that coming up on Nashville's Morning News. Although this was a very big deal yesterday, Benjamin Netanyahu, he was having dinner there at the White House, apparently. And in what looks like a surprise, Netanyahu surprised Donald Trump with a nomination for the Nobel Peace Prize.
The president has already realized great opportunities. He forged the Abraham Accords. He's forging peace as we speak in one country, in one region after the other. So I want to present to you, Mr. President, the letter I sent to the Nobel Prize Committee. It's nominating you for the Peace Prize, which is well-deserved, and you should get it.
Thank you very much. This I didn't know. Wow. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Coming from you in particular, this is very meaningful. Thank you very much, baby.
Thank you. Thank you for everything you're doing.
So that was a very big deal, and I would say that Donald Trump certainly does get an A for effort when it comes to Ukraine and Russia. Now, these two nations, clearly they can't seem to get their crap together. They can't seem to get out of their own way, especially Russia. The fighting does continue, but Donald Trump has been the leader in, at the very least, trying to get both sides together. he spoke about that in stopping the wars.
I'm stopping wars. I'm stopping wars. And I hate to see people killed. Like, as an example, Ukraine and Russia. They're not Americans there being killed. They're not Israeli that are being killed. These are all Russians and all Ukrainians. And 7,000 last week souls. And if I can stop that. You know, they have parents and they have sisters and brothers and getting married and who knows? They're just people, but they're souls. And if I can stop a war, you know, because I have an ability to do so, I'm disappointed, frankly, that President Putin hasn't stopped. I'm not happy about it either.
Yeah, he took out Putin a couple of different times during this dinner last night. He did, let's be honest, the president has had a lot of success. He did broker a ceasefire between Iran and Israel. Of course, that happened with the help and some convincing utilizing the bunker buster bombs. But so far, that ceasefire does seem to be holding. He did speak. Donald Trump did speak about all of the accomplishments.
Well, I hope so. Look, we did a job with India and Pakistan and Serbia, Kosovo, and Rwanda and the Congo. And this was all over the last 3 weeks or so, Marco, right? We did, and others that were ready to fight. And we stopped a lot of fights. I think a very big one, frankly, a very, very big one was India and Pakistan. And we stopped that over trade. We're dealing with India and we're dealing with Pakistan. And we say, we're not going to be dealing with you at all if you're going to fight.
You know, I don't know if you saw, Joan, any of this dinner last night with President Trump, all the folks on his side, and then you had Benjamin Netanyahu and all the people on his side.
Yeah.
But Trump, it was amazing. I'm just going to say it was amazing because it didn't matter the topic. It didn't matter the subject. He was taking questions from the media who was in the room before dinner, and they're just peppering him with all kinds of questions on foreign policy, domestic policy. You can talk about economic policy, the big, beautiful bill. And he was so at ease in answering all of these questions. And you know, if you want to see the whole thing, I posted it to my X feed at Dan Mandas Show. It was flawless.
I noticed the way he was sitting. So he was so comfortable that he had his hands down, like between his knees, and he was bent forward over the like where his place setting was.
That's how he sits.
Yes.
That's how he sits. He sits like that when he's in the uncomfortable chairs in the White House, too.
Right. And but I just thought that it was so impressive that he leaned in to make to the conversation with the reporters.
Leaned in. That's a great way to put it.
He wasn't, he didn't push back. He accepted all the questions and he just leaned in to talk to them.
You know what was interesting, though? I watched the entire thing.
Yeah.
Not one question about Epstein. Not one question about Epstein in front of Benjamin Netanyahu.
Yeah.
So the president, right?
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Uh-huh.
So I think the media had a talking to. I think the media, they told them, look, no questions about Epstein. Just we're trying to have a dignified dinner here, and I'd be willing to bet that perhaps is what happened.
I bet that discussion didn't happen. I mean, that would be throttling the press. Yeah, and I don't think that's what the White House wants to do. And I think that the press would come out, you know, the media, the lefty media would come right out and say they're trying to throttle us. They told us not to ask questions. Yeah. I don't think that would happen.
So then why don't you think anybody asked the question?
Because there's so many more pressing matters. So many pressing matters.
There is a lot of pressing matters. And maybe, Joan, that will be one of our next Daily Dan poll questions later on this morning is, how big of a deal is this? Because remember, we spoke about that earlier, weeks ago now. But I think I did ask the question, how big of a deal is the whole Epstein file list thing? You know, he committed suicide versus murdered. How big of a deal is this to you? And I think, help me out, KGB, but didn't the vast majority of people, they were like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
A lot of people do not care.
There goes my 7 o'clock hour. I'm totally kidding.
Oh, good. We can go early.
So anyway, Donald Trump. Oh, real quickly, we got to check the roads very quickly on WTN.
Well, we do have the crash in Antioch on westbound 24. Just before Hickory Hollow Parkway, exit 60, there's a car that went over the guardrail, and it takes out the right shoulder this morning. It's blocked off there. Now, you've got road work, too, in Brentwood early on this morning. Concord Road westbound, just past Green Hills Boulevard. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Joan. 5:15. As far as your weather goes, a high of 92, scattered thunderstorms today. And I'm going to assume, although I didn't have time to look it up this morning, guilty of sleeping in, sadly, a little bit this morning. So I don't know what the feels like temperature is going to be, but I'd be willing to bet, Joan, it's going to be about 96, 97?
It's actually going to feel like 107.
107?
I'm only kidding. I don't know.
Oh.
It's hot and sticky. It's summertime.
It is hot and sticky.
You know, it's
Yes.
going to be that way.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly right. All right. Very good. Thank you, Joan. 5:16 on Nashville's Morning News. So Donald Trump, as we have been speaking about in this first segment, the Benjamin Netanyahu, leader of Israel, of course, he presented Donald Trump with a letter that he sent to the Nobel Peace Prize people and saying that Donald Trump does deserve the Nobel Peace Prize. And Trump has, as far as foreign policy goes, and foreign policy was a definite strength in his first administration as well, and that continues today. He's trying to stop wars. And right now, he is working on a ceasefire between Hamas and Israel in Gaza. There have been now more discussions on removing the Palestinians from Gaza to rebuild it. The question, though, of course, is what to do with all of those Palestinians, because guess what? Nobody wants them.
I think President Trump had a brilliant vision. It's called free choice. You know, if people want to stay, they can stay. But if they want to leave, they should be able to leave. It shouldn't be a prison. It should be an open place and give people a free choice. We're working with the United States very closely about finding countries that will seek to realize what they always say, that they want to give the Palestinians a better future. And those who, and I think we're getting close to finding several countries, and I think this will give, again, the freedom to choose. Palestinians should have it. And I hope that we can secure it close by.
And we've had great cooperation from surrounding Israel, surrounding countries, great cooperation from every single one of them. So something good will happen.
All right, so we'll have to see ultimately what does happen. But remember that Trump, a while back, we all had fun with this, where Trump spoke of turning a rebuilt Gaza Strip into a tourist type of region as opposed to the massive pile of rubble that it currently is. Now, you heard them speak about moving the Palestinians, and I've done a number of interviews on this. I've talked about it. The problem is that nobody really wants those Palestinians. You heard Trump say that neighboring countries are willing to take them in. We'll have to wait and see if that actually comes to fruition. But there's a number of reasons why these countries don't want them. But basically, they come in and they try to take over. I've interviewed James Carafano on this and Stephen Bucci and others as well. But the Palestinians, you know, they're not good house guests, I believe is what Stephen Bucci once said, because these Palestinians, they come in and they try to take over. They try to overthrow governments when they come in. I mean, look at their behavior here. I mean, let's all be honest. It is abhorrent. Multiply that by thousands, and you have life in the Middle East with these folks. So there's a lot of countries that don't want to take these Palestinians. Some have, some may, who knows? We'll have to see ultimately where that goes. I know the Biden administration, and we were all horrified at this, the Biden administration was toying with the idea of bringing some here. For all I know, he may have. But look at all the successes that Donald Trump has right now with these foreign wars. You have the conflict between the DRC and Rwanda. You have the India-Pakistan conflict. You have, of course, the Abraham Accords from the first Trump administration. The president, in case you don't know, I've spoken about this, is working on expanding the Abraham Accords. And maybe, just maybe, Syria might be jumping in and trying to normalize relations with Israel. He was also, and this was, and again, we're talking about why Donald Trump deserves the Nobel Peace Prize, which I don't believe that he'll ever get. But he was also asked, and this is controversial, Donald Trump was also asked about sending more weapons to Ukraine?
We're going to send some more weapons. We have to. They have to be able to defend themselves. They're getting hit very hard now. They're getting hit very hard. We're going to have to send more weapons. Yeah, defensive weapons primarily, but they're getting hit very, very hard. Very sad. So many people are dying in that mess.
So this is going to be a bone of contention with a lot of Donald Trump supporters because remember, with Joe Biden, but I'm going to tell you the difference. With Joe Biden, we were all frustrated because we kept sending weapons and it never stopped. It was like blank check diplomacy. Here's a bunch of weapons as well. And Donald Trump came in and said that he would have the war settled within a day. Well, obviously, that never happened. But I think that there's been some disappointment, obviously, in what Trump has had to do with this conflict. Couple of things. You're right. He didn't get it done within a day. But at least the man is trying. At least Donald Trump has some semblance of a plan to try to stop the bloodshed with between Ukraine and Russia. It's not like Joe Biden, where he wouldn't meet with Vladimir Putin, and you had Vladimir Zelensky, and every time the man came to America, every time the man sent out a post on social media, we sent him another many billions of dollars. Donald Trump, at the very least, seems anyway to have a plan to try to stop the war between Ukraine and Russia. My worry is that even with Donald Trump's great attempts at trying to stop this, we will still constantly be arming Ukraine. That is going to be a very, very big issue. So, again, this was a great conversation that Donald Trump had with the media as Benjamin Netanyahu in front of his staff, Donald Trump's staff as well, and the media, presenting the president with a letter nominating him for a Nobel Peace Prize. Very, very big deal for President Donald Trump. The super text line is open, 615-737-9986, 615-737-9986. Watch us on YouTube if you would, and like us and subscribe. Take the Daily Dan poll as well. That would be very much appreciated. And again, the question pertains to Jeffrey Epstein. And do you really buy that Jeffrey Epstein actually did commit suicide and that there is no client list? Currently, the poll is what, KGB, as far as the numbers go? What are we looking at now?
94% no to 6% yes.
All right, so 94% basically calling BS on Kash Patel, Pam Bondi, and Dan Bondi. 523, Joan Jones, what's coming up in the news?
ICE agents under attack, and Kilmar Abrego Garcia, he wants a ticket back to Maryland. We've got those stories and more coming up here at 5:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
528, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Joan, I can feel the anticipation
Of?
my debuting of my new sound effect for Rosie O'Donnell.
Oh, I thought you were anticipating my fantastic newscast coming up in a minute.
Joan, there's no anticipation there. We all know what's going to happen. It's going to be a great newscast. So there you have it. There you go.
And what time are we?
We're going to right out of the box at 5:36.
Oh, okay.
That's exactly right.
Right out of the box.
Right out of the box at 5:36. I'm looking forward to that. By the way, most people on the super text line do believe that the whole Epstein client list is real, and they also believe that he was murdered. 3217 says, I think the Epstein files are real. I think there are too many powerful and influential people on the list, and they are afraid to let it out. We were talking yesterday, Joan, about the Mossad and how they may have been working with Epstein to blackmail powerful leaders.
That's been a rumor for
That has been
forever.
a rumor.
Mm-hmm.
What if the rumor is true, and what if we were part of it?
Oh. Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Listen, I'm just saying. Who knows? All right, it is 5:30, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning, 5:30 now. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. We're at 72 and partly cloudy right now. We're told, though, that there's a chance of thunderstorms again today, and there could be a lot of rain in these thunderstorms. So stick around. Stefano's got the forecast right after the news here. In Texas, at least 10 people have been arrested for opening fire on ICE officers.
It was a planned ambush with the intent to kill ICE corrections officers.
That's Nancy Larson, acting United States Attorney for the Northern District of Texas.
10 to 12 individuals dressed in black military-style clothing began shooting fireworks and engaging in acts of vandalism at the facility. And this was part of an organized attack.
Local police officer was shot in the neck. He is expected to be okay. One of the shooters is Bradford Morris, who goes by the name of Megan. He tells police that the group met and planned their attack online. Well, this attack comes at the same time as a shooter armed with tactical gear and a rifle opened fire on Border Patrol agents at another facility, this one in McAllen, Texas. In that case, agents and local police returned fire and killed that gunman. A federal judge in Maryland heard arguments over whether Kilmar Abrego Garcia should be transferred to federal custody in Maryland while he awaits his trial on human smuggling charges. His lawyers are also asking the judge to stop the Trump administration from deporting him if he is released prior to his trial. The judge scheduled a Thursday hearing for additional testimony. And a juvenile arrested in Lebanon yesterday, and some reports are saying this juvenile was 11 years old. That is unconfirmed. Lebanon police say that a license plate reader picked up a stolen Kia traveling on I-40. And when they pulled over that car, they realized that the juvenile had no license and was in the possession of burglary tools. He was taken into custody. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Thank you, Joan. 5:32 on WTN. Dan Mandis here. You know, I've been talking about the Glock store for a long time because I've been a customer for a long time. Now, I've bought and upgraded my guns, and I've trained all at the Glock store, and you should too. Now, here's why. They do carry all the Glocks, right? Factory and custom Glocks. Plus, they've got the PBGs, you know, the plain black Glocks, at the lowest price possible. They've also got the factory-colored, competition-ready Glocks, collectibles, custom Glocks, and, of course, the very popular Trump Glocks. And upgrades, oh, they've got upgrades. Red and green dot optics, updated triggers, and the lowest price on Glock magazines in the country. Now, the best part of this month's deal at the Glock store is you buy a 10-round test pack 9mm ammo for just $6.99, and you get to try any of their Glocks in the rental department, including, by the way, the GOAT, the Glock 43X, the most popular concealed carry handgun in the country. Shoot270.com, that's where you can find them online. Shoot270.com and Glockstore.com. My friends at the Glock store, minutes from the airport and worth the drive from anywhere.
Crews are still working on 24 westbound at Hickory Hollow Parkway, exit 60. There's a crash scene there with a car having gone over the guardrail. So the right shoulder is blocked off, and they're working in that scene this morning. Be careful in that area. Brentwood, the road work has one lane open on Concord Road westbound side past Green Hills Boulevard. They are saying that westbound traffic is pushed to the center turn lane. It may take you a few extra minutes to get through that. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.537, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to you. So, I need some audio, KGB, if I could. So, hey, Joan.
Yes.
Did you hear Rosie O'Donnell? Now, part of the news cycle this morning, and this came down yesterday after we got off the air, the headline is Democratic lawmakers say their voters are threatening blood and violence.
Yes.
Over the inability to hinder Donald Trump, according to a report. We'll get into that. But, you know, Rosie O'Donnell, have you seen her? Somebody needs to do a wellness check on Rosie O'Donnell.
Absolutely.
So this is her latest diatribe.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their creator with certain inalienable rights. Whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it and to institute new government. Come on, America. Keep going.
There you go. That's my new sound effect for Rosie.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure I got this right, though. So Rosie O'Donnell says, you got to fight. Come on, America. You've got to fight. After she bolts to Ireland. Is it Ireland where she is?
Yes, it is in Ireland that she is. And that's a great point.
Yeah. It's like, all right, then why don't you, listen, just
why
so
are you
we're
over
clear.
There?
I don't want her to come back.
Right.
But I guarantee you that, okay, I gotta proceed cautiously with my comment. But I can guarantee you that there's not an ICE agent out there that wouldn't love to see Rosie O'Donnell waddling down some blue city street threatening them so that they'd have to use their baton on her. Like, and I'm not advocating for violence, but if Rosie O'Donnell tries to attack an ICE agent, can you imagine? I'm not going to say they would enjoy it. I should probably stop. But all I'm saying is that if there's any celebrity that deserves a beatdown, not that anyone does, but if there was one,
it would be her.
It would be Cuckoo Rosie.
Cuckoo Rosie.
That doesn't really flow. Can you imagine, though, you're an ICE agent and you've been getting attacked and shot at and the left wants to dox you? And here comes Rosie O'Donnell wanting to spit on you or wanting to throw stuff on you. It's like, okay, you want to play? Meet my baton. You know what I mean?
Right out her
but
feet,
I'm not
right
advocating,
out from under her.
I'm not advocating for violence. What did you say, Joe?
Her feet right out from under her. Just baton those feet.
It's just kneecap her.
Baton those swollen ankles. Sorry.
Oh, man. I do find it funny that just she's calling for, violence and all this. And, she fled to Ireland.
Ireland can have her.
Oh, please.
Yeah.
You know what? If I were Trump, I would revoke her passport to come back into America.
I think, to be honest, that it's only the American right that listens to her. I mean, we play it back to have a little fun.
Yes.
I don't know that anybody on the left is actually listening to her and thinking, oh, she's a thought leader. I just don't think that's where she's at.
I don't know. That is a good point. I mean, I don't know. Does anybody on the left actually listen to Rosie O'Donnell? It's like us with The View.
Yeah.
We don't subscribe to anything The View says, but we play her.
Yeah.
We play them because they're so stupidly funny and moronic that they're entertaining.
Yeah.
That's a great point, though. That's a great point, though. Rosie O'Donnell, thought leader.
Honestly.
You know what? For the left, because they're not, let's be honest, they're not all, all that bright.
And what seems antithetical to us, like listening to her for her brilliant thoughts, is sometimes, wow, did you just see the lights go out?
What's up with that?
Did somebody pay the electric bill?
I was going to say the hamster's getting tired down there in the wheel. Yeah, for people watching on Super Talk TV, yes, the lights did that's the second time in a couple of days, actually, that the lights went out. Oh, you know what?
Did your computer just go kaput?
Not my computer, but the Super Talk TV stuff in the background just went down, too.
Oh.
Are we good? Is everybody good? We are on the air, right? Whatever. All right. So I'm sure that was fascinating radio. Anyway, so yeah.
So anyway, I was saying that what seems antithetical to us, that we would listen to the words of Rosie O'Donnell as being, our leader. That seems weird to us, but somehow on the left, that's okay. Like, that's normal. That's accepted. That I don't know. I don't understand it.
You know what I wonder? Does the left listen to any of us? Like, does the left listen to any conservatives and laugh at us like we laugh at them? Like, I know that they get angry.
Right.
They get really, ticked off and stuff. But I mean, whether it is Rosie O'Donnell, the ladies on The View, or Afton Bain here in Nashville, we just laugh at them because they're so, again, entertainingly stupid. So, whatever. Ireland can have Rosie if they want to come back, knock themselves out, whatever. I did find it interesting, though, and you were talking about some of this in your newscast, though. This is a headline. Democrat lawmakers say their voters are threatening blood and violence over their inability to hinder Donald Trump, according to a report.
It is the craziest thing. Like, why have we gone so off the rails that the left wants to murder and openly talk about it?
Well, because they feel entitled to do so, because they have the media, by and large, on their side. That's number one. But do you know what number two is, Joan?
What's that?
There are so many lies that are perpetrated by the left when you talk about anything that Donald Trump wants to do. I'll give you an example. I'll give you two examples. Medicaid. So you have the left, and they're talking about how Donald Trump is going to take away everybody's Medicaid.
Yeah.
Now, you and I both know that that's not true because we are based in facts. The left is using all of this hyperbole to drum up anger and resentment and panic and fury amongst people on the left. So they're not listening to reason, and they couldn't, care less about actually reading what is in the big, beautiful bill. They'll just listen to the brain trust of Joy Reid, Joy Behar, and Rosie O'Donnell. And so then they get themselves all furious and worked up, and they want to start murdering people. And the thing is that they're not necessarily based in reality. How about the mass deportation? You got all these people that are out there saying, oh, Donald Trump, he's deporting migrants. No, he's not. He's deporting illegal aliens. And there's a big difference between those two. Now, we can have a policy difference, but when you have one side of the equation that thinks that you're Hitler and a bunch of Nazis, you can't really have that discussion.
And they mean it. They mean Hitler. And they mean Nazis. They mean that.
And you know what?
It's not just a tag, a word they throw around.
Right. No, they genuinely believe that Donald Trump and conservatives and Republicans are a bunch of Nazis. And you can't really argue with that. As I was talking to Jody Reed yesterday, running for the 7th. And in the midst of that conversation, I said, we're talking about reaching across the aisle. Well, he and I agreed that it's hard to reach across the aisle when, on the other side of the aisle, they got a bunch of torches and pitchforks and they want to kill you because you're Hitler.
Yeah.
In their eyes. And the thing is, the Democrats, I don't think that they're doing anything to dissuade their followers, their supporters from wanting to murder conservatives.
I feel like they're fanning flames.
They are absolutely fanning the flames, Joan. The outlet, this was Axios, by the way. The outlet says it spoke to over 24 House Democrats to measure the temperature of the Democratic base. What it found was red-hot anger and a burgeoning desire to circumvent the rule of law, where explanations that Democrats simply don't hold enough power in Washington fall on deaf ears. We've already had 2 assassination attempts on Donald Trump. So how much worse is this going to get?
Yeah.
They say this is Representative Brad Schneider, a Democrat out of Illinois. We've got people who are desperately wanting us to do something. No matter what we say, they want more. Says most of the lawmakers spoke on condition of anonymity. Schneider's office did not immediately respond to a request for comment from Fox News Digital, but they do say our own base is telling us that we're not doing enough and there needs to be blood to grab the attention of the press and the public, one such lawmaker said. Another said their constituents are convinced that civility isn't working. Wait, time out. When the hell is civility going to start?
Yeah.
From their side of the aisle, right? Civility isn't working. Okay. They said that they need to prepare for violence to fight to protect our democracy. A third lawmaker described some of the messages from people online as crazy, saying that some of them told them to storm the White House and stuff like that.
Storm the White House? What?
Please, storm the White House. Let's see how that works out for you.
I can tell you from having lived there, the number of people who think that it's okay to scale the fence and try to get across the lawn.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the most guarded property in all of America. And the dogs aren't nice.
No, they're not nice at all. Well, Pramila Jayapal, of course, we all know her. She is a Democrat House member, and she is one of the leaders of the Cuckoo Club there on the left. And this is what she had to say about ICE.
One of the most inspiring things have been when people encircle courtrooms and refuse to allow ICE agents in. There are all kinds of nonviolent resistance tactics that we have to use.
So she said nonviolent. A lot of people are glomming on to the first part of that soundbite where she says that she finds it inspiring when people block ICE and surround ICE and, surround the illegal alien that ICE is trying
encouraging people to
get.
break laws.
Right. And so one of the things that I would say is, okay, it is comments like that where, and some people say, well, it's a dog whistle. I don't know what it is. But we now know a gunman fired, and you were talking about this in your newscast, Joan, a gunman fired dozens of shots at a Border Patrol building in McAllen, Texas, early on Monday, injuring 3 people, including 2 officers, before he was fatally shot by law enforcement authorities. And then we have the other story from ABC News. This is an incredible story.
It really is.
10 arrested. Is that the number you have?
I have 10, yes.
10 arrested after ambush on Texas ICE detention facility, officials say. Horrifying. You had 10 people. 10. Not one of them thought, maybe we shouldn't do this. Yeah. And they were trying to take out a bunch of members of ICE. So they used, and correct me if I'm wrong, Joan, they used firecrackers to try to lure them outside to start picking them off in what is obviously an attempted ambush. And it was an ambush,
It
actually.
was an ambush.
Somebody got shot. An ICE member did get shot, I believe. Am I right on that?
Yes, not an ICE member. He was a local police officer.
Local cop, okay.
Now, one of the other things that I reported on, one of the shooters is named Bradford Morris, but he goes by the name Megan.
Of course he does.
And he tells the police that they all met online previously, didn't know each other, which is really an amazing part of the story. They didn't know each other. They met online, formed a group, and planned this attack. They bought their Kevlar vests, they bought their guns, planned this attack, and went into the woods to fulfill their desire to kill ICE officers.
10 of them. That is it's scary.
There may be more. There may be 2 others that they may be still looking for.
That is scary that there's 10 people who met online in some sort of a forum or chat, whatever it is. And of those 10, they openly discussed killing other human beings, fellow human beings. And not one of them said, maybe we shouldn't do this. Because the scary thing is, if they had half a brain between them, they could have done a lot of damage. They already shot a local police officer, but that is scary.
Yeah.
And who knows what else is going on online.
It makes Hefty Woman in New Jersey seem like she was playing games.
Yeah.
Right? By pushing him around with her body.
Yep, that's exactly right.
It makes it seem like she just was playing around when these guys are out there with guns.
With guns, openly talking about wanting to kill members of ICE. And then you have, Justin Jones, our local village idiot, and all these people on the left saying, "Oh, we can't have ICE members in masks." Really? Because your side, Justin Jones, your side is doing this. Your side is targeting ICE officers. So yes, as a matter of fact, they will be wearing masks, and we do need to do whatever we can to keep them safe. By the way, real quickly, did I already play the audio from Caroline Levitt on all this? No, I didn't.
No.
So this is just real quickly. This is Caroline Levitt. She was asked about the violence against ICE officers.
A shooter today was shot in McAllen, Texas, after opening fire on Border Patrol agents. It comes just days after Democratic Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal recently said she gets, quote, inspired when activists obstruct ICE. Does the White House expect Democrats to tone down their rhetoric in light of what we saw today in McAllen, Texas?
We certainly call on Democrats to tone down their rhetoric against ICE and Border Patrol agents who, again, are everyday men and women. I would encourage AOC and other Democrats to actually meet with the United States Border Patrol. These are honorable Americans who are just simply trying to do their job to enforce the law. They go home to their families every night just like we all do, and they deserve respect and dignity for trying to enforce our nation's immigration laws and to remove public safety threats from our communities. The White House is aware of the shooting that took place today in Texas, and we are working with the appropriate federal agencies to get to the bottom of what happened.
All right. So, and by the way, 4702 says, Dan, you're partially right, but mostly wrong. Axios has it in the report that it's mostly white suburban people with higher incomes.
Yeah.
Well, did I say that they were, poor black people?
I don't think
never
you said that. No.
I didn't say anything about anybody's skin color or income or anything like that. 4702.
So there. Hey, get that.
Do you know what? Hey, 4702, I got a sound effect for you.
I was just going to have you get that ready for this next comment.
Go ahead.
5581 said Rosie is so cuckoo that Cocoa Puffs doesn't even like her.
There you go. Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
I like it. All right, there you go.
She nailed the audition for the cuckoo bird they had as their mascot.
Yeah.
She nailed it too hard that they couldn't make her the
Rosie
mascot.
does have kind of like a bird look about her with the pointy nose. So, I mean, Rosie could be a cuckoo bird.
She looks like she saw the Ark of the Covenant.
5:54 on Nashville's Morning News. And
you didn't like that?
I'm already late.
Melted face and all? No.
I love it, KGB. He didn't say anything for like an hour, and then he comes up with that.
Because anyway. I hate Rosie O'Donnell.
He woke up.
All right. He did wake up. All right, it is coming up on 6 o'clock. And Joan, what's coming up?
Yeah, the death toll has risen in the Texas flooding. Also, an immigration raid in L.A. yesterday and another confrontation with Karen Bass, the mayor there. Stick around for that and more coming up at 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.556. Listen, summer is here. It's July. So if you're thinking about selling your home, now is the time. With Mark Spain Real Estate's guaranteed offer, you can sell your home quickly and for maximum value. Dan Mandis here. You know, you can make the most of your summer by selling your home with the guaranteed offer from Mark Spain Real Estate. You can skip all the hassle of a traditional home sale and sell your home quickly without the stress of showings, open houses, or costly repairs. Mark Spain Real Estate's guaranteed all-cash offer allows you to sell your home in as little as 21 days and move when you're ready. They've got over 13,000 five-star reviews. You, my friends, can trust the top real estate team in the U.S. to sell your home stress-free and for the most money. Call them. Tell them Dan told you to reach out at 855-299-SOLD, 855-299-SOLD. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer on your home today. That's markspain.com and start packing.
Good morning. Now 6 o'clock. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. There is a crash on 65 southbound in Goodlettsville this morning. It's stop and go from Louisville Highway through Sumner Davidson County line because of that crash. You may schedule some extra time on the travel in this morning. Texas Governor Greg Abbott saying more than 20 agencies have joined in the search now for victims of that flash flooding. And he says the work will not end until every victim is found. He toured the site of Camp Mystic where 27 campers were killed.
And it was nothing short of horrific to see what those young children went through. And we will remain 100% dedicated, searching for every single one of the children.
There are still 10 girls and a camp counselor missing from there. The death toll is now overall over 100. Another dust-up between ICE and L.A. Mayor Karen Bass after ICE agents protected by National Guard troops descended on MacArthur Park in L.A. on a federal immigration sweep yesterday. Bass arrived on the scene and demanded ICE agents leave immediately. Border Patrol Chief Gregory Bovino speaking to Fox News.
The federal government is not leaving L.A. I don't work for Karen Bass. The federal government doesn't work for Karen Bass. We're going to be here till that mission's accomplished, as I said, and better get used to us now.
Authorities have confirmed that no one was detained in yesterday's sweep. That area is known as a stronghold of MS-13 gang members. A warning from firefighters over those lithium-ion batteries after a Hendersonville family's garage lit up in flames as they were charging their golf cart.
There could be a bomb, like, in your house, in your garage, like in everyone's house.
Firefighters say not to overcharge devices and perhaps charge cars and golf carts outside. Market numbers brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com.
From ABC News, Wall Street now. The latest targets of President Trump's tariffs are Japan and South Korea. Goods imported from those countries are set to be hit with 25% tariffs starting August 1st, the same day that import fees are slapped on a dozen other nations. That news did not sit well with Wall Street. The Dow Jones on Monday fell more than 400 points to close at 44,406. The Nasdaq likewise lost 0.9%. The S&P 500 surrendered 0.8. Tesla stock slipped nearly 7% Monday. The electric car maker losing $68 billion in market cap after CEO Elon Musk announced plans to form a new political party. Tesla investors have been uneasy with Musk's interest in Washington. A new TikTok app is in the works, a walled-off version to address data security concerns of users in the U.S. It's slated to be ready before the planned sale of that platform to a group of non-Chinese investors, allowing it to continue U.S. operations. Jim Ryan, ABC News.
Stock futures mix now. The Dow futures down 44, but NASDAQ futures are gaining 54, and the S&P futures are on the plus side by 6. That is the latest news, traffic, and weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News. Okay, it's closed now. Southbound 65 now closed off at Sumner-Davidson County line by that accident. It's not clear how long they'll have that traffic stopped, but you may need extra time to get into work this morning. Also, road work continues in Brentwood on Concord Road, westbound side. Just one lane available past Green Hills Boulevard. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.607, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to you, and welcome on in to your Tuesday, July 8th. Hope you're doing well. Coming up at 6:36, we've got Matthew Hurt going to talk all things political with Matthew, our grassroots political analyst. And at 7:36, Lee Reeves is going to be joining us in studio. He is the state rep for the 65th District, which is parts of Franklin, Thompson Station, Leapers Fork, and Fairview. Joan, he's got an announcement to make, so we'll talk about that.
You always get the best announcements.
Well, I don't know about that. MacArthur Park.
Yeah.
Can I just tell you how heartbreaking it is to hear? I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't know that, you folks know I'm from Los Angeles, right? So I remember back in the 80s, this shows you, I grew up in Los Angeles. And so I grew up not near MacArthur Park, but we used to go to MacArthur Park, my dad and so forth. It used to be an incredible, incredible park. Kids playing, you had folks, throwing Frisbees. You could spend the entire day at MacArthur Park in Los Angeles. Westlake used to be a beautiful, beautiful neighborhood. And now, Joan, you're telling me that it is a hive of MS-13?
It is. It is, and that's why the ICE agents were there. They were doing a sweep, an immigration sweep. But they were met with, as soon as it hit the net that there were ICE agents out there, protesters showed up en masse.
Right.
And Karen Bass had to come out, too, and have her say.
Have you heard the audio?
Of
Karen Bass?
Oh, no, go. Do you have
I've got the audio. So she is there. Do you know, before I play this, do you know what I would ask Karen Bass? Would you go walking late at night alone in MacArthur Park, Karen Bass? Because she is demanding in this audio that ICE leave, right? She's demanding that ICE leave. She is surrounded by all of these people. And
her security agents.
Correct, and reporters. And my question would be, as you're demanding that ICE leave, why are you not demanding that MS-13 leave? As opposed to ICE, right? Listen to this.
I am going to say.
Now, she's on the phone with somebody. Do you know who she's talking to?
She was either talking to Kristi Noem or to another higher up in the Border Patrol Agency.
Okay. So I'm gonna repost this to my X feed at Dan Mandis Show. But this is Karen Bass, and again, she's on the phone with somebody.
I am going to say.
Mayor Bass, I need to get my phone and we're departing.
Okay. All right, thank you, Mayor Bass. Karen Bass.
Mayor Bass.
Oh my
Any
God.
comment, Mayor Bass?
Thank you.
Mayor Bass, any comment?
Yes, my comment is they need to leave, and they need to leave right now.
So you know that she's not telling MS-13 to leave.
Yeah. Also, that agent said they were on their way out anyway.
Right. They've probably gotten all the bad guys they came to get.
They need to leave because this is unacceptable.
Who did you speak with?
This is unacceptable, she says. So apparently, in the world of Karen Bass, it is acceptable. And I know this is, for a lot of you folks, this is an eye-rolling moment with Karen Bass and the Democrats. But I just feel like I have to point out the absurdity of this 29-second video where you have the mayor of Los Angeles who is demanding that ICE leave but is inviting MS-13 to stay in the park. I mean, that is
Insane.
baffling. That is baffling to me.
Yes.
Here's more.
Mayor Bass, who did you speak with on the phone just now? Who did you speak with on the phone? Wow.
I don't know. I couldn't tell who she said. But yeah, it's either somebody within the higher ups, Kristi Noem, maybe Tom Homan. Can you imagine a conversation between Karen Bass and Tom Homan? Oh, to be a fly on the wall. Bumlusian, apparently from Fox News, he was like embedded with the ICE agents when they went into MacArthur Park. He says, and this was from yesterday, breaking, we are with hundreds of federal agents and military as a massive federal immigration enforcement operation is underway in the MacArthur Park area of the sanctuary city of Los Angeles, an area with heavy MS-13 influence. Mayor Karen Bass has demanded raids stop. Feds respond with one of the largest yet. Well, they are. They're responding to MS-13. Feds respond to Karen Bass's demand that the raids stop. The feds responded with one of the largest responses yet, including Border Patrol agents on horseback, and protesters were already showing up.
She had a video. Apparently, there was a camera trained on the park, and she ran on her, I think it was her Twitter site. She had a video that she sped up, so it looked like they were moving very quickly through the park. Yeah.
Okay.
But they didn't take anybody yesterday, and I don't know if that's because they didn't find who they were looking for.
So they didn't take any bad guys away from MacArthur Park?
No. I think it attracted so much attention that they thought better of it at that moment.
Well, here's also what may have happened is that somebody may have tipped them off. There may have been a tip-off, too, because we know that that's happening. I love this, though. I am going to repost this to my X feed. Dear protesters, you make me sick. Say their names. And you've got, of course, Laken Riley, Jocelyn Nungery, Rachel Marin, Ruby Garcia, Kayla Hamilton, whole Molly Tibbetts, a lot of women that have been killed by the likes of MS-13, I'm assuming Trende Aragua, whatever. And so, you know, they're going crazy. The people on the left and Karen Bass, they're going crazy for ICE arriving at what used to be an incredibly beautiful MacArthur Park, and nobody has any care about the kinds of people that are raping and murdering women in America. They can stay. ICE, though, has to leave. Unflippin' believable.
So I played this clip of the Border Patrol Chief, Gregory Bovino, in the news. Did you hear this? His response to Karen Bass?
Go ahead.
The federal government is not leaving L.A. I don't work for Karen Bass. The federal government doesn't work for Karen Bass. We're going to be here till that mission's accomplished, as I said, and better get used to us now.
Isn't that great?
I actually love that.
Yeah.
I love that. And you know what? I think that for anyone of any logical and rational and sound mind to pay attention to Karen Bass and these lunatics on the left, I think you've just got to dismiss them. Just absolutely dismiss them outright because they're telling ICE to leave and telling MS-13 to stay. At that point, and, you know, this goes right back to what we were talking about in the last hour, Joan, where you have that story in Axios where you have House lawmakers who are saying, oh, yeah, our constituents, they want blood, right?
Yeah. Yes.
And so, well, how do you end up with blood? Well, because you let the gang members stay and you order ICE to leave. So what you're doing is, you know what MS-13 does. They rape and they kill and they pillage American women. So Democrats, you want blood. You want to put MS-13 over ICE agents, and you want to put MS-13 and Tren de Aragua over law-abiding citizens. That's how you get blood. That's how the American people will end up dying, because you, Democrats, are putting gang members over American citizens. Karen Bass, you are at the top of the list. 6:15, time to check the roads on WTN. At 6:16, as far as your weather goes, looks like we've got a high today of 92, scattered thunderstorms as well. Joan Jones, the official forecast from the WTN newsroom was hot and sticky.
That's right.
That's what Joan is saying. It is going to be hot and sticky today.
The norm.
Like it was hot and sticky yesterday as well.
Yeah.
And so, listen, it is shorts weather. That's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
It is shorts weather. Real quickly, I feel like Elon Musk's, I'm going to pot this up. I feel like Elon Musk and his want for a party to take on the Trump administration and the main line of the Republican Party, I feel like it's hitting, I don't know, kind of like a dud. I don't know about you, Joan, but Harry Enton at CNN, he was talking about this. Listen.
Yeah, this entire thing makes very little sense to me. It makes about as much sense as selling sand in the desert. What are we talking about here? What is the size of Elon Musk's base? Well, I calculate it to be about 4%, just 4%, 1, 2, 3, 4% of all voters. What is that base made up of? Well, it's those who view Elon Musk favorably and the GOP unfavorably. We're talking just about 4% of all voters out there, because it turns out most of the people who like Elon Musk already like the GOP already. That is, they already have a party for him. In my mind, there is just no base for Elon Musk's third party in the electorate, at least initially speaking.
I know what the thing, too, is, like, Elon Musk, and I was talking to somebody, I don't know if it was you, Joan, but it was somebody who, when you watch Elon Musk and you watch how he presents himself, you watch how he does business, how he carries himself, I don't know if I would follow Elon Musk into battle.
I agree.
And listen, I appreciate everything that Elon Musk has ever done for Donald Trump and for, the conservative movement.
Absolutely, yes.
But he's just I'm not going to pull out the cuckoo sound effect, but he needs to focus on Elon Musk things. And I'm all for, listen, if he wants to start a third party, an alternative to the Republican Party, if that's what he wants to do, knock himself out. It's his dime. But if he wants to partner with the likes of Mark Cuban and Mike Pence and some of these other people that are rumored to be part of this America Party, okay, you go right on ahead. Now, the thing that I will say, though, is that, and I get where Harry Enton is going, and we spoke about this yesterday, and we'll speak to Matthew Hurd about this at 6:35, but it only takes a few seats to give power back to the Democrats. And it depends on how he does it. Like if he goes for strictly safe seats, safe red seats within the House of Representatives, then you're getting an alternative to a Trump-supporting Republican in there. But, by and large, I don't know why he's doing this. To me, I just believe that he is rather petulant. What he is ultimately, he's not going to defeat J.D. Vance, right? Like in the next presidential election, you've got, it's going to be either J.D. Vance or Marco Rubio, maybe Ron DeSantis. Those are the three that I've got. And if there's other people out there, by all means, let me know. But my big three is DeSantis, J.D. Vance, or Marco Rubio. And I don't care who it is that Elon Musk is going to try to, bring forward. I don't think that they're going to have a shot against those three. I think that right now, Donald Trump is on a big roll. Although, did you hear the scurrilous accusation and rumor that is out there, Joan?
About whom?
About Donald Trump and amnesty.
Oh, no.
So Charlie Kirk was doing his thing, and the rumor is he is saying that, isn't it Charlie Kirk, right? I think that's it. So he is out there saying now that he is hearing that there is going to be some sort of a deal that Donald Trump is getting pressure to offer up some sort of a mass amnesty deal. Now, I don't know if that's true. That's what Charlie Kirk is saying. Other people have said that. Donald Trump said a few weeks ago, Joan, remember? When he was talking about, we got to help the farmers. We got to help hospitality. Remember that whole thing?
Yes.
And then people on our side lost their ever-loving minds. So now, if there really is a move afoot because of political reasons, because they're worried, what they're worried about, according to Charlie, is that there's going to be a big pushback and we're going to lose the midterm elections based on this mass deportation. So now they're saying that the answer to that is to offer mass amnesty. I don't know if that's where the Republican Party is right now. I would just say offering mass amnesty. When you ran on, this is what I don't understand. When you ran on mass deportation, and now apparently there's people around Trump that are saying that we need to have mass amnesty. There's no way in bloody double toothpicks that Stephen Miller, who is one of Donald Trump's most trusted advisors, would tell Donald Trump that he needs to engage in some sort of mass amnesty. There's just no way.
It doesn't make sense either, in the sense that Hispanics largely back President Trump. They want for immigration to be legal too.
Yep.
So
absolutely,
who are we trying to appease here?
And it might be that Charlie Kirk, and I'm not saying that he's not being genuine, but it might be that there's some people out there that want a trial balloon, like the president did a few weeks ago. Maybe this is a trial balloon. Maybe somebody leaked it to Charlie Kirk, knowing that he would talk about it on his podcast, and then people would lose their ever-loving minds, and that would be a message to the Trump administration. Yeah, we don't want to do this. Because I would say it this way. If you want to completely lose your base, in the last several days, let's just say this happened, Joan. Let's just say this happened.
Yeah.
In the last several days, you've got weapons to Ukraine, which Donald Trump, I covered that earlier. Donald Trump said we're going to send more weapons to Ukraine. There's no Epstein list, and Epstein actually committed suicide, and we're going to offer mass amnesty. Can you imagine turning MAGA on its head with just those three things?
And it could. It really could.
It could. So I hope that's not the case. We'll have to see what happens. 624, Nashville's Morning News. Joan Jones has the news coming up at 6:30. Joan.
Yeah, it looks like we may have some more thunderstorms that roll through the area today, or at least the possibility of them. You know, yesterday it knocked out power and caused a ground stop at the airport. We've got more about those storms coming here. Coming up at 6:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.624 Nashville's Morning News on WTN. Dan Mandis here. If you are maxed out on credit cards, if you're struggling with high interest debt, you could pay it all off in days with my friends at Loan Pronto and their rapid equity loan. You can get cash out now without touching your low rate first mortgage. No appraisals, no waiting, and as they like to say, no BS. The rapid equity loan program at Loan Pronto, it is amazing. One Loan Pronto client just got $300,000 approved in under 24 hours. They paid off debt, they renovated their kitchen, and they cut their monthly expenses by $1,800. That is a huge turnaround. Instant approvals, low rates, and no hard credit pull up front. That is Loan Pronto. This home equity, it is yours, and you can use it. Get cash out to consolidate your debt down to one easy, low monthly payment. They've got an A-plus rating by the Better Business Bureau. They've got nearly 2,500 five-star Google reviews. Their service is off the charts. Call them now to start the conversation. 615-499-5780. 615-499-5780. Get debt relief now with Loan Pronto. Online, loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781 on approved credit, NMLSconsumeraccess.org. Dan Mandis here. You know, I've been telling you for years about United Structural Systems. They are experts in waterproofing. We had, I don't know about at your house, but in my house, it was a massive, massive downpour yesterday afternoon. So I live in an older home. One of the first things I always check is to make sure that my basement and my crawl space are dry, because I've had waterproofing issues in the past, and that is why I turn to United Structural Systems. This is a great company. They've helped me several times, as a matter of fact, with my home. This is why I proudly endorse USS. Now, what can they help you with? Well, yes, waterproofing, concrete leveling, and foundation repair. Now, they're not going to charge you for any unnecessary repairs, and you're not going to pay a dime until the work is done and you are a satisfied customer. They can help you with basement and crawl space waterproofing, basement wall stabilization, and foundation repair. We guarantee our best. Call USS. Please, as always, tell them Dan told you to reach out at 615-488-7855, 615-488-7855, USSTN.com.
Good morning, 6:30 here, and I'm Joan Jones with the latest news. Now, you've still got that problem on 65 southbound this morning. They have opened the roadway, but the left lane remains blocked off. 65 southbound at the Sumner-Davidson County line. A serious accident earlier this morning. We'll have more right after the news. More than 100 people now confirmed dead in flood-ravaged parts of Texas as the search for the missing continues today.
It's mostly at recovery, and I spoke to some rescuers yesterday, and they said, yes, there is some hope. You know, the weather is warm. It hasn't been pouring. Hypothermia is typically the biggest detriment to survival, and that's not the case here. However, they are losing hope of finding any survivors at this point.
That's ABC's Matt Gutman reporting. We may have some thunderstorms rolling through this area again today. Here's WSMV's Stefano DiPietro.
We are talking about more rain across the mid-state over the next couple of days. Hey, this will be great for your allergies across the mid-state because as we get that soaking rainfall, it does help the pollen count drop. Today, Wednesday, and Thursday look to be a pretty good wet stretch with hit and miss showers and thunderstorms as we work our way through each afternoon.
Now, yesterday's downpours, heavy winds and lightning led to a ground stop at Nashville International Airport. The FAA lifted that ground stop about 3:15 in the afternoon, but it did cause flight delays through about 8 o'clock last night. The storms also knocked out power to about 9,000 NES customers just before 2 o'clock, most of them in West Nashville. And got a heads up for folks living along Iron Bridge Road in Columbia. You're going to lose power for about an hour tomorrow morning. It'll start around 9 o'clock. Crews are out there. They're going to be trimming trees around the power lines. That is the latest news, traffic, and weather just ahead. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Thank you, Joan. 6:32 on WTN. Dan Mandis here for my friends at DT McCall's. This is a great Tennessee company. They are here for their fellow Tennesseans with great prices, selection, and value. So if you're looking for appliances, if you're looking for furniture, this is the place you want to go. I've been telling you for years about these folks at DT McCall's. They've been helping people out for 3 generations. And if you need it, they've got it at great prices and fantastic selection. Indoor furniture, if you've got a room to fill, go to DT McCall's. Of course, you know all about their lawn mowers and outdoor lawn equipment, appliances. Listen, if it plugs in, they've got it. And they've always got specials going on to save you money. It's right there on the front page of their website. They've been at it for over 100 years, folks, where they focus on customer service. And by the way, if you buy it at DT McCall's, they'll deliver it for free and haul away the old stuff. I know these folks. They're great Tennesseans. They're great Americans as well. 5 locations across Middle Tennessee, Carthage, Cookeville, Lebanon, Lafayette, and Franklin. Please tell them Dan told you to reach out. Always online, dtmccalls.com. Dan Mandis here with a question for you. And we had those storms yesterday. We're going to have more today. I think we've got storms planned or predicted all week. So
Yeah, that's what Stefano says. Yeah.
Is that what Stefano says?
Yep.
Okay. Well, Stefano's always correct. He was spot on, by the way, with that 4th of July forecast.
Yes, he was, wasn't he?
He sure was. Yeah. So if your roof was destroyed in a storm, how much of that replacement cost would your insurance company cover? It is more relevant this week than ever before. If you don't know, you need to ask before it's too late. Now, some insurance companies, they refuse to pay full replacement cost. They're going to deduct money for an older roof. Now, that means that the insurance company is depreciating how much they pay for your roof claim. If you've got an older roof, they're going to pay you less, and that could leave you on the hook for thousands of dollars. Now, my friends at King & Associates Insurance, they will pay full replacement cost. So whether you have to replace a 10-year-old roof or a 2-year-old roof, they pay for it to be replaced, period. It is that kind of focus on customer service that makes King & Associates Insurance one of the best insurance companies around. Call them. As always, please tell them Dan told you to reach out at 615-329-8121, 615-329-8121. Get your Royal Review, tkinginsurance.com.
Okay, so the big problem this morning is on 65 southbound side. It's a crash that takes out the right shoulder at Sumner-Davidson County line, and the traffic is backed up behind that, so it may cause you a big delay this morning. At least the roadway is now open. You've also got road work going on in Brentwood on Concord Road. The westbound lanes between Green Hills Boulevard are right at Green Hills Boulevard, and just one lane available to traffic there. Berry Hill, I-440 eastbound at I-65. There is a crash there as well. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
637, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Appreciate you listening. Joan, real quickly, before we get to Matthew Hurt, I found some great audio of Stephen Miller going off on LA Mayor Karen Bass.
Oh, love it.
He is on Jesse Waters' show. This is what he had to say.
There is an insurrectionist movement in the Democratic Party that is inspiring domestic terrorism against ICE. When you have the mayor of Los Angeles mobilizing agitators, mobilizing the mob against ICE, saying that federal law enforcement has to leave her city, this is a settled constitutional question. Federal law is the supreme law of the land. You cannot nullify it. You cannot succeed from it. It is the law of the United States of America. So these insurrectionist Democrats are every day engaging in rhetoric that is incentivizing, that is encouraging, that is fomenting violent terrorist attacks against ICE and ICE officers. Not only in the shootings that you've seen recently, but ICE officers are being doxxed. Their families and children are being threatened. Their addresses are being posted online. They are being subjected to a campaign of terror by these radical Democrats.
All right, so that is Stephen Miller. I want to welcome in Matthew Hurt to the radio program. Always great to have you on, Matthew, our grassroots political analyst. So let's talk about a couple of things just real quick. Illegal immigration. I don't know if you heard, but Joan and I were talking about what happened in MacArthur Park in Los Angeles yesterday. Karen Bass, the mayor of Los Angeles, coming basically to the park and telling MS-13 essentially that they can stay, but ICE had to leave. I mean, it's kind of stunning when you think about it.
Yeah, absolutely, Dan. And I think, as the song says, MacArthur Park is frightening in the dark, and it is. Los Angeles and other major cities have serious immigration issues. We're seeing it here in Arlington, where I live, just across the river from Washington, D.C., and people like Stephen Miller and Tom Homan, actually executing on these policies of the Trump administration, are doing a great job. And you can't just decide which federal laws you're going to follow and which you're not going to follow. One of the ways that the federal government is able to hold cities and jurisdictions accountable is to withhold funds. We saw this a few weeks ago with Donald Trump saying that he may withhold some federal funds from California. But this is the front line of the resistance. People like Karen Bass and Governor Newsom out there, and my elected officials in Northern Virginia who are doing everything they can to thwart and subvert the Trump administration. It's outrageous.
So there was a story about, and you heard Stephen Miller in that audio bite. He was actually referencing this story. Headline is, Democrat lawmakers say their voters are threatening blood and violence over their inability, the Democrats' inability, to hinder Donald Trump. And so, they're talking about how they're going to their constituents, and their constituents are threatening, apparently, actual violence against Republicans. And part of my take on this, just humor me for 10 seconds, is basically the Democrats have spent all this time talking about how Donald Trump is Hitler, we're a bunch of Nazis, and he is deporting migrants when he's not. He's deporting illegal aliens. And he's going to take everybody's Medicaid away from them, when in reality that's not the case. But all of these lies are being told about Donald Trump and the Republicans, and it is fomenting this thirst for violence among the left.
When you dehumanize your political opponents, it makes it very easy to move into this phase. And this is historically has happened from the left. On January 29th of 1975, the Weather Underground bombed the State Department in Washington, D.C. They are responsible for bombing the Capitol in the mid-20th century. This is a dangerous move when you dehumanize someone that you simply disagree with on policy. It makes it much easier to commit acts of violence. And we're seeing the doxing of ICE agents. There was a young man, I think based out of Houston, who was recently arrested by federal authorities for doxing, basically showing where the hotel was, where these ICE agents were staying when they were committing these raids. And this is dangerous territory. These are men and women who put on a uniform at the federal level, just like the police in Nashville or in Murfreesboro, and they are carrying out the law, and left-wing political opponents are putting them in harm's way. And again, this is a dangerous move.
I mean, there are real-world consequences to this. There's this story this morning. Joan and I were speaking about it in the 5 o'clock hour. 10 arrested after ambush on Texas ICE detention facility. Basically, what these guys were trying to do is lure out ICE agents with fireworks. And then when they would come out, the plan was they were going to try to take them out. They did end up shooting one local law enforcement officer. And so this is one of those moments, and I'm just stunned that you had 10 people, 10, maybe 12, and not one of them thought to say, maybe we shouldn't do this.
Well, and you should step back and take a look at the range of activity. We saw a couple of weeks ago the senator from California who disrupted Secretary Noem.
Padilla.
Yeah, Padilla. We saw that activity. That is just one form that sort of normalizes disrupting government activity, and then you see it go a step further with this instance of 10 people outside of the ICE facility in Texas. We see it with the doxing of not only the locations of these agents, but also their names, which can then be used online by people who are, hackers and others who will identify their home addresses and their family members and all of that kind of thing. It is dangerous. It's something that on a much more mild level, I have experienced as chairman of a Republican committee in a deep blue community. My political opponents do this from time to time, but this is nothing like what we're seeing being perpetrated against ICE agents and people who are carrying out the president's lawful agenda.
6:45 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. All right, coming up, Matthew Hurt, we are going to talk about Elon's adventure as he is trying to start up a new political party. Details straight ahead. Time to check the roads on WTN. As far as your weather for today, another hot day, possible storms as well. High of 92. And again, watch for those storms. Matthew Hurt is joining us. All right, real quick, Matthew, I want to play this audio again. This is Harry Enton over there on CNN. He did what he does. He crunched the numbers. And he doesn't understand what Elon's trying to do.
Yeah, this entire thing makes very little sense to me. It makes about as much sense as selling sand in the desert. What are we talking about here? What is the size of Elon Musk's base? Well, I calculate it to be about 4%, just 4%, 1, 2, 3, 4% of all voters. What is that base made up of? Well, it's those who view Elon Musk favorably and the GOP unfavorably. We're talking just about 4% of all voters out there, because it turns out most of the people who like Elon Musk already like the GOP already. That is, they already have a party for him. In my mind, there is just no base for Elon Musk's third party in the electorate, at least initially speaking.
What is Elon Musk trying to do? I know that his stated goal right now is to try to take away a couple of House seats, I guess, from Republicans.
You and I have talked about this a number of times before. Elon Musk plays an important role in the political process as a financier and less as a strategist. Where he can be most effective, if there are members of Congress he wants to unelect, then he should seek to identify candidates to primary those individuals. As I have said countless times, we live in a first-past-the-post, winner-take-all, two-party political system. Many states make it near impossible for third-party candidates to even get onto the ballot. I think it's near impossible in Tennessee. If you wanted to be a candidate under the America Party banner on the ballot in Tennessee, it would be almost impossible to do that. So Elon Musk has invested millions in Republican Party politics over the last cycle. He was very successful in those efforts. I think that if he wants to continue this success, he should do so within sort of the confines of the Republican Party. It is almost exactly the same as David Hogg attempting to, what Elon Musk wants to accomplish is what David Hogg would have tried to accomplish inside the Democratic Party by electing more progressive people in a primary contest. So Elon Musk has some great ideas. He's got people who like him, but those people largely also like the Republican Party, and Elon Musk should play, I guess, in that sandbox.
I don't see a lot of people, just from the folks that I hang out with and talk to, I don't see a lot of people following Elon Musk in a battle. I did note, though, that some folks like Mike Pence and Mark Cuban, they're all on board, because ultimately what Elon is trying to do is damage Republicans and damage Donald Trump.
Well, Mike Pence is right now a man without a party, given the activities at the end of the last Trump administration. And Mark Cuban has a long track record of opposing Republicans publicly and funding opposition to Republicans. So this is something, again, given the reality, the political reality that we live in, a two-party system. Any effort outside of the Republican Party would make an impact in those very close races decided by 2 or 3 points. And it would give Democrats the House and the Senate for sure in 2026.
All right, so real quick, the Epstein files don't exist, and Jeffrey Epstein actually did kill himself. Now, I've said my piece on this. You had Pam Bondi, you had Dan Bongino, you had Kash Patel. For years, they've been out there talking big, talking smack about, the Epstein list, why haven't we seen it, so on and so forth, on any show that would have them, and their own shows. And now it turns out they have come out and said that, well, Jeffrey Epstein did kill himself, and there is no client list. So a lot of people saying there's a cover-up. What say you?
Dan, I don't believe any of this, I don't know where to go on the air with you on this. I think that it is, you said it very well. This was the drum was beat on this for months and months and months, for years even, and there has to be something there. And look, there are plenty of conspiracies in politics. And the meme is, I'm sitting back and all of my conspiracies are coming true. I really don't know what the issue is here unless there's broader implications. You had a congressman several years ago, Madison Cawthorn, who was from North Carolina, and he said, there are all these adult parties with drugs in D.C., and if the Epstein thing is any proof, then there is, this is widespread, and it's incredibly frustrating.
The other thing, it's interesting. We changed our Daily Dan poll, and the new question is basically, how much do you care about the Epstein files? And we had 54% say that they really did care. We had 8% that said they didn't care. We had 34% that said, well, I care, but there's so many other things going on. And that's kind of where I'm at. Like, if you're a Donald Trump supporter, I always look at okay, so what's the straw that breaks the camel's back, right? And so if the Epstein files and possible cover-up, whatever, but my thing is, I don't think that story is one that is going to break the relationship or the loyalty and the support that Donald Trump supporters have for the president. I don't think this is that.
There are many, many other things that President Trump should be working on to get his agenda across the finish line. You're right about that. I also think President Trump has this outsized ability to convince his own supporters, the most ardent supporters, to move with him on an issue, to put it very diplomatically. And I think if Donald Trump says this isn't a big deal, then a lot of Trump supporters are going to say this is not a big deal.
All right. And let's see here. I don't know if that's all I had, actually. Is there anything else that I'm missing? We have like a minute and a half left. You're answering very quickly. You skirted around that Epstein question very, very, very well there, Matthew. So you didn't answer that really. So what else you got? Maybe we got like a minute left.
It's incredibly frustrating, Dan, because the people who are listening to your program, who tune in all the time, want elected officials to do the right thing.
Sure.
And in this Epstein issue, and even back a couple of years ago with Madison Cawthorn, it sort of peels back the veil of what is actually going on here. What are these parties, or who is connected to this? Mm-hmm. And it's frustrating to think that somebody's reality, a guy in Murfreesboro who works his tail off to make the mortgage and raise children and provide for his family, and elects people who he thinks is going to do the right thing, and then they're out here doing who knows what, and it's incredibly frustrating. That's why it's so important for good people to run for office at every level: school board, state legislature and up.
All right. So now my question is, there was a rumor, I don't know if you heard Charlie Kirk yesterday, but there's a rumor that there might be some pressure on Trump to grant some sort of a mass amnesty. I think perhaps it's not going to be mass amnesty as in 25 million illegals, but I think that there might be something afoot to help, as Trump said a few weeks ago, the farmers and hospitality. I believe that might be the issue, that if Trump offers some sort of amnesty to folks, that might be something that does cause the president to lose some support, if he does that.
As I just said, I think the president has a tremendous ability to move his own supporters on these issues. And if it comes to migrant labor and hospitality workers, we have visa programs for those kinds of individuals, and I think that is quite an easier argument than, say, blanket amnesty or DACA like we saw in the Obama years.
Yep. All right, very good, Matthew Hurt. How can people follow you on X?
I'm on X at Matthew Hurt, MattheWHurtt.
All right. As always, a stellar analysis. It is 6:53 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So we did change the Daily Dan poll. Watch us on YouTube, like and subscribe. And we changed the poll. I can't even remember what the previous poll question was. But basically, the question now is, how much do you care about the Epstein files? And I fall under the 34, 35, 36%, which is, you know what? It is important, but I also believe that there are far more important things that are going on right now. And I think that's where people are, KGB?
Yeah, so 53% say yes, they care. 8% say no, and 40% now are saying a little, but there are other things to worry about.
There are. All right, 6:54, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Joan Jones is here at the news at 7. Joan.
Yeah, Dan, how the flash floods in Texas is changing kids' camps around here. And the one thing you won't have to do at the airport anymore. Those stories coming up here at 7 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
How do I depend on Xfinity? Let me count the ways. Dan Mandis here. Now, I've got a lot riding on my rock-solid internet from Xfinity. Riker, homework and gaming. Amy, of course, working all day long from home. And, of course, yours truly, always prepping, always doing radio shows from my basement as well, all with Xfinity. Now, by the way, if something does go wrong with Xfinity, they can make it right with 24/7 customer service for whenever you need it. And with Riker in the house, he is 11, it is critical that we are able to check out what he's watching. And with Xfinity, you can. They are here to protect your family. Now, you can depend on these folks, so check them out online anytime at Xfinity.com. That's Xfinity.com. Call them, tell them Dan told you to reach out, 1-800-XFINITY, or stop by a store today. 6:59, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. All right, coming up in the next hour at 7:36, we've got Lee Reeves coming in. He is state representative for the 65th District. That's parts of Franklin, Thompson Station, Leapers Fork, and Fairview. And Lee has a big announcement to make. Gee, I wonder what it is. Can't wait to speak to Lee coming up here in studio at 7:36. A lot going on here in Nashville's Morning News. Stay close. It is Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning. It's now 7 o'clock, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. We're at 72. We do have some clouds now, but there could be some thunderstorms moving through later on today. Stick around for Stefano's forecast. We begin here with the rising death toll in Texas, now standing at over 100 people. Still, 10 girls and a counselor from Camp Mystic remain unaccounted for after flash flooding there. Now, that disaster has prompted a change here at Coldstream Christian Camp in Robertson County. The director there spoke to WSMV4.
Even though our cabins are very close together, we're going to start having walkie-talkies in the cabins with the counselors at night, just in case there is any type of alert that we need to get to them immediately.
The main threat in Robertson County isn't flash flooding, but tornadoes. And that camp does have a shelter. It's underneath the bathhouse, and it was used last summer. A 10-year-old Nashville boy is dead after the mini bike that he was driving crashed into a tanker truck. This happened on Sunday night when that boy, his name is Deshaun Whitmore, drove out of the parking lot of a market on Main Street and right into the passenger side of that truck. The rear tires of the trailer ran over that boy, killing him. His family is devastated.
There will always be a hole that only he could fill. But I know he's not coming back. He's not coming back.
Police are trying to identify the owner of the mini bike and how Whitmore got his hands on it. There's a new partnership announced between Ascension St. Thomas Hospital System and Unity Hospital in Manchester, Tennessee.
UMC CEO says the move will help cut down on travel from Coffee County in order for people to get quality care. The rural hospital will work with Ascension St. Thomas to collaborate with physicians and community leaders to identify health needs.
Channel 4's Amanda Hara there. In a statement, the hospital says that patients will gain access to Ascension's cardiology, neurosciences, and women's health, among other specialties. Well, next time you head to the airport, plan to keep your shoes on.
It's a major shift for anyone who flies. The TSA is letting people keep their shoes on. For nearly 20 years, removing shoes has been a hallmark of the general security line. The agency has not officially announced this change, but the policy appears to be taking effect at airports across the country. Passengers who trigger the alarm at the scanners or magnetometers will be required to take their shoes off for additional screening. Passengers with TSA PreCheck have been able to keep their shoes on for years.
Those darn people. ABC's Allison Kosick reporting. Market numbers brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com. Dow futures right now are just minus 1 point. We've got NASDAQ futures up 64 and the S&P futures rising 9 points. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News. Still got road work in Brentwood this morning on Concord Road westbound past Green Hills Boulevard. Just one lane of traffic available. South side, it's a crash at I-40 westbound before Elm Hill Pike overpass. Then one in Madison, too. It's on 65 northbound at Old Hickory Boulevard, and the right shoulder remains blocked off. And in Goodlettsville, Rivergate Parkway at I-65, that's the scene of a crash as well. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.706 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to you. Joan, did I hear you right? We get to keep our shoes on going through the airport?
Yes, sir. Now, it's not an official policy yet. Some places, some airports are allowing people to go through without taking their shoes off. Maybe they're just testing it at this point.
Okay.
But it's been a long slog through.
Boy, it sure has, man.
Yeah, it's been 20 years that we've been taking our shoes off, planning to wear, I don't know about you, but like I plan to wear either my slippers or a slip-on shoe.
Do you know what happened to me one time?
You have to have socks on so your bare feet don't touch that dirty floor.
Do you know what happened to me?
What happened?
I think I was going to the Marconi's in New York, and I totally and completely shanked my sock selection. They had holes in them. Not one, but both of my socks had holes in them. How bad were my holes? Now, I've got a story, which I'm not going to go on and on about. But in fairness to me, I was having a bad sock day. I was running late, and I just grabbed the pair of socks, put them on, and I bolted. Because, again, I was running late. I'm like, screw it. Who cares? Not remembering that I've got to take my shoes off at the airport. And so they were laughing at me. The people in line, the security people were laughing at me. And I'm like, oh, God, I hope they don't recognize me. You know what I mean?
What does this say about your underwear? I mean, honestly, why don't you just change out your socks every once in a while? Buy new ones. You don't need to go around with holey socks.
Well, just so we're clear, my underwear is fine.
Okay.
And
Good to hear.
Thank you for putting that visual in the minds of the audience as they're eating breakfast. But no, I did. I tossed out those socks.
Good.
And but it was so funny. I was running so late, and I had to get to the airport, and I'm just like, whatever. And again, just completely forgetting that I had to take off my shoes. Still have to take off the belt?
Apparently, yes.
All right.
That has metal on it, so yes, you want to. Generally, a buckle will have metal.
Still
so
have to put the arms over the head?
Yes.
I hate that.
Yeah, me too.
I absolutely
And if you're not like
hate
right
that.
in the little space where your feet are, the TSA agent says, look down at your feet.
And I know they're judging me.
Yeah.
Like I know they're judging me.
Did I tell you the story about what I left in my purse one time?
What'd you leave?
I had been to the gun range, and I use one of those loader. I can't load the bullets very well, and so I have one of those manual loaders that helps you.
Yep.
And one of them popped out, and I just threw it in my purse.
Oh no.
And I went through the airport, and the screener he was very kind. He circled it on the screen, and he said, "What does that look like to you?" And I said, "I don't know. I forgot all about it."
Yeah.
And he said, "I
oops.
want you to go over there, take your purse, go through your purse, and dump out what you don't need." And I went through the purse, and I said, "Oh, hey, there's a bullet in here."
That is so funny.
But he let me go. I mean, I didn't get further. I no more searches.
I was having my last one. I was having my car detailed last year.
Yeah.
Now, my car is generally clean, but it was a train wreck. And so I had forgotten that I just come from the Glock store and I had a big box of bullets, right? And so the box ended up, it was like 3/4 of a box. And so then it's like opened up. I got bullets all over my car. And I completely forgot. So I take it in to get my car detailed. And I come back and the woman's like, I don't know what you wanted us to do with all the bullets in your car. But we went ahead and put them in the middle compartment because they're trying to vacuum out my car.
Remind me to never go to an airport or anything in your car ever with you.
I'm just saying.
Or you, Joan. I don't trust either of you right now.
So, yeah, and it was actually kind of funny. And I said, well, thank you for not vacuuming up my bullets. So there you go.
They could have done that. And then, I mean, bullets are expensive.
Oh, they're mighty expensive.
Right. So.
Which is why you need to buy your bullets at the Glock store. All right, moving right along.
There you go.
Hey, we do have Lee Reeves. He's going to join us at 7:36, a state representative for the 65th District. And he is going to have a big announcement to make. And I'm hearing, Joan, that there's been another announcement of somebody who is running for one of our seemingly endless amount of congressional openings that we have here in Middle Tennessee. Johnny Garrett has announced that he is running for the 6th. He says Washington has been throwing curveballs at Tennessee for years. Open borders, out of control spending, men and women's sports, and zero accountability. He says, I'm not going to Washington to play nice. I am going to win. As a 7th generation Goodlettsvillian and Trump conservative, I am proud to announce my campaign to serve as the next U.S. representative for Tennessee's 6th congressional district.
Wow. I mean, he talks a good talk, right?
Yeah. I mean, do you know what the problem is going to be with all these guys? I shouldn't say this now because I got Lee Reeves coming in. But a lot of these guys, they all are Trump conservatives. So the question is, because you'd be crazy to come in and say, oh, you know what? I don't support Donald Trump. You know, I mean,
right.
This is a very red state.
So how do they distinguish?
How do they distinguish? And I asked.
It's a marketing question.
It is a marketing question. So I asked that of Jody yesterday, and I'm going to ask Lee Reeves that, not to give out my interview strategy, but I'm going to ask Lee Reeves, how do you distinguish yourself from the other folks that are running? Because everybody's a Trump Republican, everybody's a Trump supporter. Okay, so then how do you distinguish yourself? And I think that Jody had a great answer yesterday, and I'm sure that Lee Reeves will have a great answer as well, as he is readying his run as well to replace Mark Green. 7:13 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. All right, so I want to talk very briefly about the Epstein files, and only briefly. And you know what I think, Joan? I think this is the last of my monologues on the Epstein files. Like, I think I'm done.
I think people would be okay with that.
You think people would be okay with that?
I do.
All right, so let's do this. And this probably will take all of 3 minutes. And so it's good that it's kind of a shorter segment. Let me check traffic real quick, and then we'll talk a little bit about the Epstein files. It's straight ahead. It is coming up on 7:15. Time to check the roads on WTN.
Southside 40 westbound before the Elm Hill Pike overpass. 74 degrees. Blocks the left shoulder. Use caution. Madison 65 northbound, an accident at Old Hickory Boulevard blocks the right shoulder. And Goodlettsville reports of an accident. Christy O'Brien.
At 7:15, as far as your weather today, it is going to be hot, high of 92, scattered thunderstorms. As Joan says, it's going to be hot and sticky today, and possible thunderstorms. All right, Super Talk 99.7. So there's a lot going on with the Epstein files, and again, I think people are over it. I think people are really ticked off about this, but I do believe that we do have bigger fish to fry. So do the Epstein files exist? Do they or don't they? Well, I want to talk a little bit about this. Yesterday, we were told by Axios that the FBI and Attorney General Pam Bondi are now saying the Epstein files don't exist and that Epstein actually did commit suicide. And there is no client list. And so my post on the socials was this. The people who have been screaming about a cover-up in this case are now the ones covering it up. I mean, you do. You have Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, and Pam Bondi, three people who I very much supported for their roles. Now, I'm getting a little bit of pushback from some of the folks that are listening because I am eviscerating in my own way, because I don't really eviscerate all that much. But, Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, and Pam Bondi, because as I've said ad nauseum now, they've spent years talking about this cover-up, this cover-up, this cover-up, and now they're saying that they were wrong all this time or they are lying, one of the two. So I don't know if they even have any credibility left because they were screaming for years about a cover-up, and if there truly is no client list, and if Epstein truly did kill himself, well, then they were wrong all those years, and they were talking about it all that time. So there is that aspect to it. But, it is also very possible that the deep state destroyed the evidence. I mean, that has been a conversation for quite some time as well. So the question is, was there a cover-up? Is there a new cover-up? Or there was never a cover-up? There was a former CIA agent on Jesse Waters' show last night. This is what he had to say.
I'm not blaming the FBI director, Kash Patel, or the deputy director, Dan Bongino. I think that layer beneath them, that's part of what we like to call the deep state, has taken this bull by the horns, and they've probably destroyed information. Look at what the CIA did in 1975 after Congress ordered that it release all of its files related to an operation called MK Ultra. The director of the CIA went back to headquarters and ordered everything to be destroyed. And in the end, only about 20% of the documents survived. We're still learning about the FBI's operations against Martin Luther King 55 years after the fact. So now we're supposed to believe that everybody's telling the truth, that there were no files, there were no dossiers. I'm sorry, I just don't buy it because I know how these people operate.
All right, so that was a former FBI agent, Jesse Waters' show. But then why not say that? Why not then say, well, we think that all of this was destroyed? Wouldn't that make more sense? As opposed to saying that it never existed, which is what I believe they are saying. The other thing that we don't get is that for years, they said the cameras didn't work outside of the cell of Epstein. We talked about this yesterday, Joan. Suddenly, they've got like 11 hours of tape from outside of Epstein's cell. So I don't get it. Either the cameras were working or they were not working. For years, they told us the cameras didn't work. Now they've got 11 hours of tape. And by the way, I guess there's a minute or two missing on the 11 hours of tape. So, but I would say this, if Epstein were murdered, it takes a lot more than 2 minutes to murder somebody, I believe, right? I mean, if you're trying to get the thing around his neck.
Unless you're an assassin.
No, but the way that he was killed, which was over his neck, he supposedly killed himself with the bedsheet, right? So
is there actually photo evidence that he did that? Because it could just...
There's an autopsy. Well, I mean, there is a photograph of him with the marks around his neck. There is, but that could be photoshopped. That
Hillary's
could be
hands
faked. It could be what? It could be Hillary, whatever. But anyway, here's the other thing, though, is that you do have, all the comments, like Alina Habba. She was on Piers Morgan.
But in this case, in Epstein's case, it is incredibly disturbing. We have flight logs, we have information, names that will come out.
Flight logs? Is it going to be shocking?
I don't see how it's not shocking that there were so many individuals that were hidden and kept secret and not been held accountable. Let's talk about the reverse. I believe in accountability. So you have to now go through your process. Now, I won't say they're guilty until they go through their time in court, but again, now it's time for accountability. We have seen for so many years, Pierce, in this country, many investigations, subpoenas, testimonies in Congress, et cetera, et cetera. But there's a general frustration with accountability. We take it halfway. We don't take it home. And I really believe that now with Kash and Pam, there will be accountability.
Well, apparently not. And of course, there's this comment from Pam Bondi.
It's sitting on my desk right now to review.
All right. So some people are saying that is Pam Bondi saying that there is a list. Now, some people are saying that Donald Trump is using the list to blackmail world leaders into peace talks. I don't believe that, but that's what some people are saying. But the issue is, again, that you've got all these past quotes.
It's sitting on my desk right now to review.
That Pam Bondi, Attorney General, and that quote was brought up yesterday to Caroline Leavitt.
So what happened to the Epstein client list that the Attorney General said she had on her desk?
Well, I think if you go back and look at what the Attorney General said in that interview, which was on your network, on Fox News.
Got the quote.
Go ahead.
John Roberts said, DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen? And she said, it's sitting on my desk right now to review.
Yes, she was saying the entirety of all of the paperwork, all of the paper in relation to Jeffrey Epstein's crimes. That's what the Attorney General was referring to, and I'll let her speak for that. But again, when it comes to the FBI and the Department of Justice, they are more than committed to ensuring that bad people are put behind bars.
All right, so now the administration is trying to distract from and move on from this story regarding Epstein. President Trump posted this to Truth Social. The FBI, under the direction of Director Kash Patel and Deputy Director Dan Bongino, is back to the basics, locking up criminals and cleaning up America's streets. I do like that. I do like that Trump is like, you know what? Can we just focus on the right now? Let's clean up our streets, please. Let's get that done. And that's what the president posted on Truth Social. The FBI, under the direction of Director Kash Patel and Deputy Director Dan Bongino, they are back to basics, locking up criminals and cleaning up America's streets. We have the greatest law enforcement professionals in the world, but politics, he says, in air quotes, and corrupt leadership often prevented them from doing their job. That is no longer the case, and now they have been unleashed to do their jobs, and they are doing just that. Keep it up. Make America safe again. And the president attached a story from The Federalist that actually shows that murder rates are down quite a bit. This is the headline. As deportations rise, the U.S. is on track for the lowest murder rate on record. Cool. But what about that Epstein client list?
What do you tell MAGA supporters who say they want anyone involved in Jeffrey Epstein's alleged crimes to be held accountable?
This administration wants anyone who has ever committed a crime to be held accountable. And I would argue this administration has done more to lock up bad guys than certainly the previous administration. And the Trump administration is committed to truth and to transparency. That's why the Attorney General and the FBI Director pledged at the president's direction to do an exhaustive review of all of the files related to Jeffrey Epstein's crimes and his death. And they put out a memo in conclusion of that review. There was material they did not release because, frankly, it was incredibly graphic and it contained child pornography, which is not something that's appropriate for public consumption. But they committed to an exhaustive investigation. That's what they did, and they provided the results of that. That's transparency.
And she, of course, again, that's Caroline Leavitt. I'm a big fan of hers as well. And she continued to focus on moving forward, which is what she's clearly been told to do. And the success of the Trump administration in bringing down those murder rates, again, as reported by The Federalist, bringing down those murder rates through deportations.
They have an operation going on right now called Summer Heat, which has our murder rate trending in the lowest direction in United States history. Their emphasis on violent crime and locking up violent criminals has led to the arrest of 14,000 violent criminals. That's a 62% increase from the same time period last year. So this Attorney General and the FBI Director are committed to putting bad people behind bars where they belong. That they promised an exhaustive review. That's what they did. For any further details, I would refer you to the Department of Justice.
All right, so the bottom line is don't pay attention. And I'm just telling you what the message is. I'm not being snarky. The bottom line is for the Trump administration, stop asking about Epstein. If you want to know about Epstein, ask the Attorney General and the Department of Justice, and they will also not answer any more questions. Focus on right now. Focus on the good. Focus on the deportations, helping to bring down the murder rates. It is 7:24 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk. Joan Jones has the news coming up at 7:30. Joan, what's up?
Yeah, ICE agents under attack and Kilmar Abrego Garcia wants a ticket out of Tennessee. All that and more coming up here at 7:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Joan. It's 7:25. Dan Mandis here. Listen, Contours, if you need a little bit of body sculpting, to get into that bathing suit this summer? Well, Contours, they can help you with a belly buster special. Now, these belly buster specials, they are amazing. They are unique. It is cutting-edge technology, red light technology. It's not only, again, unique, but it is also effective. Most folks lose a couple of inches across the belly. Both Chad and I have gone to Contours. Now, you call right now, 615-236-9960. For just $99, you can get a belly buster special. First 10 callers right now, the summer special at Contours, 615-236-9960. Now, since I've been speaking about Contours, people have been coming from all across Middle Tennessee to check them out. You can go to their website and see how those belly buster therapy featuring red light technology actually works. That website, contoursllc.com. And don't forget, you want to get that special, the summertime special right now. First 10 callers gets the $99 belly buster special. Save a bunch of money. 615-236-9960. Find them online. It is contoursllc.com. That is contoursllc.com.
How would you like to have Jesus Christ pray for you? Did you know that Jesus Christ does pray for you if you're a Christian? Hebrews 7:25 says, "Therefore he is able also to save forever those who draw near to God through him, since he always lives to make intercession for them." In Scripture, intercession means to pray on behalf of. Jesus Christ is your advocate. An advocate comes to our aid or pleads our case to a judge, offering support and counsel and interceding for us when necessary. In other verses, Jesus calls the Holy Spirit our advocate. Just like you talk to yourself, when Jesus talks to himself, it's prayer. The Bible says no matter what you go through today, next week, or next year, Jesus is praying for you if you have trusted him as your Savior. He's on your side.
728, Dan Mandis here for my friends at Window Nation. Now, this is my window company. They put 4 windows in my home, and if you're thinking about new windows for your home, you've got to check out Window Nation. Listen, it is really hot right now. Make sure that cool air is staying in and the hot air is staying out with Window Nation. Now, these are some of the best energy-saving windows on the market, and they are installed in a day or less with Window Nation. Their crews all have years of experience, and if you want to increase the value of your home, call Window Nation. By the way, they've got a great deal going on right now. Save 50% off all window styles. You can save big time with 0 interest for 5 years as well. 5 years. That means no interest until 2030. Now, this sale is going to end soon, so call them today, 866-90-NATION for Window Nation, 866-90-NATION. Schedule a fast, free estimate now with Window Nation, and don't forget the great deal. Save 50% off all window styles, and you can save big time with 0 interest for 5 years, no interest until 2030, 866-90-NATION, windownation.com.
Good morning. It's 7:30, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. There's a crash to tell you about this morning. Again, same spot, 65 southbound. This one, however, is at I-24 North. That's exit 88. And there is a crash right there. This is Talbot's Corner. The crash is taking out the center lane. It is blocked there. Again, it's 65 southbound right at I-24 North, exit 88. And the center lane remains blocked off by an accident. We'll have more in traffic right after the news. In Texas, at least 10 people have been arrested for opening fire on ICE officers.
It was a planned ambush with the intent to kill ICE corrections officers.
That's Nancy Larson, acting United States Attorney for the Northern District of Texas.
10 to 12 individuals dressed in black military-style clothing began shooting fireworks and engaging in acts of vandalism at the facility. And this was part of an organized attack.
A local police officer was shot in the neck. He is expected to be okay. Now, one of the shooters is Bradford Morris, who goes by the name of Megan. He tells police that the group met and planned their attack online. Well, this attack comes at the same time as a shooter armed with tactical gear and a rifle opened fire on Border Patrol agents at another facility, this one in McAllen, Texas. In that case, agents and local police returned fire and killed the gunman. A federal judge in Maryland heard arguments over whether Kilmar Abrego Garcia should be transferred to federal custody in Maryland while he awaits his trial on human smuggling charges. Of course, he is currently jailed here in Nashville. His lawyers are also asking the judge to stop the Trump administration from deporting him if he is released prior to his trial. The judge scheduled a Thursday hearing for additional testimony. A juvenile was arrested in Lebanon yesterday, and some reports are saying that this juvenile was just 11 years old. Lebanon police say a license plate reader picked up a stolen Kia traveling on I-40. When they pulled over that vehicle, they realized that juvenile had no license and was in possession of burglary tools. He was taken into custody. Stock futures this morning are mixed. The Dow futures down 43, but the Nasdaq futures are plus 62, and the S&P futures are up 6 points. That's the latest news. We've got traffic and weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Dan Mandis here, 7:33, Nashville's Morning News, and I'm going to tell you about my HVAC company. I've been using them for over a decade. Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. Thing I've always loved is their mission to provide great service and save you money, like this month. Save big time on Busy Bee's smart Wi-Fi water shutoff valve. Only $12.49 this month. And also, you buy a whole new HVAC system. You get a free air duct fogging and UV light home treatment. If you got plumbing problems, well, Busy Bee has the answers there as well. $500 off of a Halo 5 whole home water filtration system, or $1,000 off whole home water and drain line replacements. Look, the savings go on and on with Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. By the way, if you need some financing, how about 0% for 18 months with approved credit and payments as low as $100 a month? Check them out online, busybeehvac.com. Please always tell them Dan told you to reach out. busybeehvac.com, 615-775-7833. $7:35, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Dan here for the Low T Center. Now listen, guys, if you are over 40, you're running low on energy, maybe you're just feeling off, lowtcenter.com is where you need to go. Get started with testosterone replacement therapy, or TRT, and join lots of guys who are going through the same thing as you. Now, I know that they've got clinics all over Nashville, and they're really easy to get to. You walk in, you see a real medical provider, you get that energy back. No complicated process, just results. And remember, these treatment plans, they are tailor-made just for you. Now, you can get treatments at the clinic or you can be treated at home, but either way, you're always going to get the highest quality of care at the Low T Center. Now, right now, you can get a free consultation, and if you qualify, treatment is covered by most major medical insurance. So reclaim that energy and become you again. By the way, they can also help with prescription weight loss options as well. So head on over to lowtcenter.com and book your appointment today. That is lowtcenter.com. Simple, quick, and totally worth it.
Yep, still there. 65 southbound at I-24. You got a crash, and the Gore is blocked off. This one is a car and a box truck involved in that crash. Hermitage, 40 westbound before Stewart's Ferry Pike, exit 219. That is the scene of a crash. They're still working in Brentwood on Concord Road westbound at Green Hills Boulevard. Only one lane available to traffic there. And a crash in the south side, 40 westbound before Elm Hill Pike overpass. Oh, one more, 24 westbound in Laverne. That one's right before Waldron Road, exit 64. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.738, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. By the way, KGB, I think you're going to have to control Lee's microphone, if you would. Lee Reeves is joining us, and Lee, you are from the 65th District, and you want to replace Congressman Mark Green in the 7th Congressional District.
Well, I do. First of all, thank you for having me on this morning. Yep, I am announcing this morning that I'm running for the 7th Congressional District here in Tennessee.
So you are just finishing up your first term. Like, you've been in the state legislature for like a year. So are you ready for such a quick promotion?
Well, it's a good question, and it's one I'm sure I'm going to get. But look, I wanted to serve the people, and this is not the timing I would have chosen. Obviously, I would have hoped that our congressman had stayed longer, and I may not be running, but the opportunity is right now to serve a greater district than the one I have, and I love. I love what I'm doing right now, but I think it's an opportunity to serve.
Well, your district, and I've been mentioning this, is made up of parts of Franklin, Thompson Station, Leapers Fork, and Fairview.
Yep.
And so I'm going to ask you the same thing I asked Jody Barrett yesterday. So the 7th Congressional District does have, parts of Nashville, and is it going to be difficult to reach all those folks?
Well, look, there's all kinds of different demographics. We've got people in rural counties. We've got suburban areas. We've got downtown, very urban areas. Fortunately, I've lived in all of those kind of areas. And so I think I can relate to everybody and understand where they are positionally.
Let's talk about your background real quick. What did you do before politics? I know that you went to Georgetown Law.
I did. So I went to Georgetown Law, and I practiced real estate law for 12, 13 years. Sophisticated contracts, representing big banks and, making loans and that sort of thing. And then, people buying and selling. Got onto the investment side of real estate and started investing myself, and have continued to do that. So I understand businesses, I understand budgets, I understand payroll. I've made payroll for a long time now, and I bring that into the political role that I both inhabit now and that I'm seeking.
I thought it was interesting, the reason why you got into politics. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, happy to. So we moved to Tennessee now I grew up in Bowling Green, Kentucky. So, kind of wanted to get back to the region, but had lived in a couple different places, moved here in 2019. And the first thing I did was get involved in the community. I went out and sought out a civic organization and stopped by the Lions Club, and Rotary was next, but the Lions Club, I think, needed energy, and that's where I decided to put my energy. It's very similar to analyzing this congressional race right now. This is where energy is needed. And so I've been very consistent about trying to serve, and that's why I got involved in politics in the first place.
Talk about the Education Freedom Act.
Sure.
You voted for it.
I did.
And so I think when you look at you versus at least one of your other opponents, he voted against and you voted for. So I think that's going to be one of the distinctions. So talk about why it is that you voted for the Education Freedom Act.
Well, I'm happy to. I ran on that for the State House. It was important to me that parents be afforded a choice in their children's education. I think parents ought to direct those education funds instead of teachers' unions. And so I stood with President Trump on a Trump-backed bill, and we got that over the finish line, and I'm happy that we did.
I think, and this is going to lead into my next question, most folks running for the 7th are going to say that they are very Trump-supporting, staunch supporters of the president and his agenda. So how are you going to make yourself stand out?
Well, listen, the race is going to have a lot of talkers. I'm a doer, right? I get things done. I've passed bills. I've stood firm. I've taken heat in some cases to get results. Look, I'm a workhorse. I'm not a show pony, and I'll say that right up front. I get in the trenches and get things done. I think Washington needs more workhorses.
Would you have voted for the Big Beautiful Bill?
I sure would have.
Okay.
I sure would have. And it did some very important things, right? The first is we avoided the largest tax hike in history. Okay. We secured our border with that bill. We are going to finish the wall. We have funded our immigration efforts in the state, in the country, sorry. And then we've also expanded school choice on the national level. And I think all of those things are very important.
Taking out the Department of Education, you're for that?
I am absolutely for that.
It's one of the big things that President Trump has wanted to do, and a lot of people, as you know, Republicans have been wanting that gone for a long time.
Reagan wanted to get rid of it, and he accurately noted that once you have a government program, it's hard to not have a government program.
Yeah, once they're used to it. All right, coming up, we're going to talk about a question that, again, I asked Jody Barrett yesterday, which is, why do people hate Congress, and why do you want to do this?
Yeah, fair enough.
So we'll talk about that. 7:45, time to check the roads on WTN.
We've got reports of an accident and Laverne 24 westbound, a crash before Waldron Road. I'm Christy O'Brien.
7:45 on WTN. As far as your weather for today, it's going to be hot, 92, probably going to feel like 98, 99 degrees, and some possible thunderstorms as well. Appreciate you listening to Nashville's Morning News. Lee Reeves is joining us. He is the state representative for the 65th District, and he wants to replace Congressman Mark Green in the 7th Congressional District. And, of course, we all know that he has decided to retire from Congress. So, Lee, let's talk a little bit about why is it that everybody hates Congress, and why do you want to do this?
Yeah, those are both great questions. Why does everybody hate Congress? Because they have the sense that you go up there and it's very tough to get things done. And guess what? It's gotten worse. We have a very slim majority, and I think we need people up there who are working very hard every day to get President Trump's agenda across the goal line. And that's what I would go up there and do. And I think we've got others who want to hold votes hostage to, negotiate, this or that. And sometimes that's important, but not right now. We've got a very slim majority, and I want to go implement the agenda that President Trump has.
You are a supporter for legal immigration. Like all conservatives, you want to demagnetize Tennessee, and we want no illegal immigration, obviously what we want. Are you satisfied with President Trump's mass deportation efforts so far, and specifically here in the state of Tennessee?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's never a perfect system when you are having to catch up from 4 years of just a totally open border.
Yeah.
But yeah, I am absolutely for getting criminal illegal aliens out of our state and out of our country. I passed legislation this year to give law enforcement an additional tool to do that for illegal aliens from other states driving on our roads. I also have 2 bills still yet to pass, and if I'm elected, I will sign those over to somebody else to continue to carry that ball. But the first is to urge the federal government to make legal immigration streamlined, that faster, less expensive, because I think it's important that we do that. But also another bill actually gives even further tools to our law enforcement to make sure that we demagnetize our state.
And that is so huge. And I think everybody knows that and appreciates those efforts. You went to college, Georgetown Law, and Washington, D.C. I've been to Washington, D.C. a couple of times. Used to live in Richmond, Virginia. I remember Washington, D.C., way back when as an incredible city, and it is now basically devolved into a crap hole. I was just talking earlier in the program about what has happened to my hometown of Los Angeles. These are all the impacts of Democrat rule. When you go back to Washington, D.C., because I'm sure you have occasion to go back, is it a reminder of what you fight for as being so important because you see what happens with Democrat rule?
Well, it sure is. And it's always an oddity to me that our cities tend to go blue, whether it's D.C., New York, Houston, Nashville even, and why people vote for that. And I've yet to understand why, because we see examples all the time in our downtown urban areas of decay and things kind of falling apart and not being able to keep up. And so it is a question in my mind why people vote for that. But we've had instances where Republicans go in and fix things, and I'm hoping that across the country, people see that things are moving in a better direction and move that way.
I think that is why it is so important to support Donald Trump and everything that he wants to do, because he is fixing things. One of the other questions that I would have, and maybe it'll come up on your campaign, but there are a lot of people that say, well, what Republicans need to do is reach across the aisle and look for that bipartisanship. And tell me a little bit about whether or not you're feeling bipartisan these days.
Well, listen, I'm bipartisan where there's a chance to get something done. But look, I'm not going to go to Washington to make friends. I'm going to fight for Tennessee values. But I will say this. I've also passed conservative laws here in our state by working with others when it mattered. And I think that's an important distinction to make. I know how to be effective without ever compromising my principles, and that's somebody that we need up in Washington.
It's interesting because you're right. When you have the other side, and we talk about this often, but when you have the other side where they are hell-bent on just destruction and they have no interest in bipartisanship, that's when we as conservatives need to go to war.
That's right. Yeah, no, that's right. But hopefully we can find those areas where we can agree. I mean, I passed a bill, several bills this year where I've worked across the aisle and said, look, I'd love your vote, and never changed the content of my bill, but was able to talk people through why it was important for our state.
Give me the 60-second elevator pitch for why folks should vote for you for Congress.
Well, I appreciate that. So, again, my name is Lee Reeves. I'm a state representative in District 65, Williamson County. I'm a Christian. I'm a conservative. I'm a husband. I'm a father of 3 children. I've passed laws to stop illegal immigration in our state. I have passed laws to secure the military vote in local primary elections, and I have helped get school choice across the line here in Tennessee. So I'm running to back up President Trump and push his America First agenda forward. He's our quarterback, and I'm the workhorse ready to carry the ball. So I'll just say this. I'm not here to be a show pony wide receiver waving for the ball. I'm a lineman in the trenches, and I'm going to grind every single play to win that game for the 7th District of Tennessee.
So what does the campaign look like for you? You're going to go, as we say, shake a bunch of hands and kiss a bunch of babies?
Well, yeah, shake some babies and kiss some hands. I don't know. I don't know how it goes.
I don't know if you're familiar with me, but I shank things all the time, and I really wanted to make sure I didn't screw that up.
That's right.
Thank you for.
That's right. I saw you carefully going there. No, look, we're going to go talk to as many people as we can in the 7th District. We're going to tell them why it's important to have an effective workhorse legislator up in D.C., and I think we're going to win this thing.
LeeReeves.com, LeeReeves.
All E's. LeeReeves.com.
Right. Very good. Good luck to you. Thank you very much for coming in, and we'll talk again soon. It is 7:51 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7. Joan Jones is in the WTN newsroom. Joan, what's coming up at 8?
Yeah, coming up, Dan, the death toll rises in the Texas flooding and an immigration raid in L.A. and another confrontation from Karen Bass. We've got that coming up here at 8 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
$7:52 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7. Want to tell you about my friends at the Wellness Institute of Nashville. Listen, summer is here. It is July. And you want to be active. You want to go out. You want to have fun. But if you're sidelined with chronic back, neck, and knee pain, you've got to go to my guy, Dr. Kevin Mitchell at the Wellness Institute of Nashville. Now, Dr. Kevin Mitchell, he has helped so many people, including me, across Middle Tennessee. He can help you as well. They are experts in spinal decompression therapy. It does work, no pills, surgery, or injections. And right now, a great deal for the month of July. They charged Donald Trump with 34 felonies. Not one of them stuck. But at the Wellness Institute of Nashville, we're going to turn that 34 into something positive. It is the presidential special. For just $34, you can get your initial consultation, x-rays, and that very first treatment. $34 starts you on your road to a healthier life. I'm Dan Mandis. The Wellness Institute of Nashville has my seal of approval on this presidential special that could change your life. 615-246-5009, 615-246-5009, painisbad.com. 7:56, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Super text line is open, 615-737-9986, 615-737-WWTN. One of the things that I find fascinating about the dance that Donald Trump does with the Nobel Peace Prize people is that I'd be willing to bet, Joan, that they know that he deserves it. They know that he has done incredible work all the way around. And they know that the world is actually going to be watching to see if they actually give him the Nobel Peace Prize. Did you see what happened last night? An amazing moment last night where Benjamin Netanyahu, of course, you know, he is at the White House. He's in Washington, D.C., and he and Donald Trump, they are hanging out. They had dinner last night. And in what looks like a surprise, Benjamin Netanyahu actually told Donald Trump that he was nominating him for the Nobel Peace Prize.
The president has already realized great opportunities. He forged the Abraham Accords. He's forging peace as we speak in one country and one region after the other. So I want to present to you, Mr. President, the letter I sent to the Nobel Prize Committee. It's nominating you for the Peace Prize, which is well-deserved, and you should get it.
Thank you very much. This I didn't know. Wow. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Coming from you in particular, this is very meaningful. Thank you very much, Bibi.
Thank you. Thank you for everything you're doing.
Thank you.
So I would say that Donald Trump, when it comes to Ukraine and Russia, he definitely gets an A for effort. These two nations, and I don't want to go on and on about it, but these two nations, they can't seem to get out of their own way. The fighting continues. Donald Trump has done everything in his power to get them, at the very least, to agree to a ceasefire. It doesn't seem like that's really going to happen. He's really frustrated with Vladimir Putin. He called him out twice yesterday, at least twice, during this whole conversation.
I'm stopping wars. I'm stopping wars. And I hate to see people killed. Like, as an example, Ukraine and Russia. They're not Americans there being killed. They're not Israeli that are being killed. These are all Russians and all Ukrainians, and 7,000 last week souls. And if I can stop that, you know, they have parents and they have sisters and brothers and getting married, and who knows, they're just people, but they're souls. And if I can stop a war, you know, because I have an ability to do so, I'm disappointed, frankly, that President Putin hasn't stopped. I'm not happy about it either.
No, he's not happy at all. And so now the question is, all right, well, then, President Trump, what are you going to do about it? And that's seemingly where we are right now. Let's be honest, Donald Trump did broker a ceasefire between Iran and Israel. Of course, that was with some bunker buster bombs. But, you know, so far, that ceasefire is holding. That is the epitome of peace through strength. But he also spoke about a lot of his other accomplishments on the world stage.
Well, I hope so. Look, we did a job with India and Pakistan and Serbia, Kosovo, and Rwanda and the Congo. And this was all over the last 3 weeks or so, Marco, right? We did, and others that were ready to fight. And we stopped a lot of fights. I think a very big one, frankly, a very, very big one was India and Pakistan. And we stopped that over trade. We're dealing with India and we're dealing with Pakistan. And we say, we're not going to be dealing with you at all if you're going to fight.
Yeah, and there's a lot more. What is Donald Trump planning to do with all those Palestinians? And a shocking statement from the president yesterday when it came to Ukraine. Details straight ahead. It's 8 o'clock on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Well, hello there. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. There's some police activity right now on I-40 westbound before Almaville Road, exit 47. Pretty slow from Veterans Parkway, exit 50 to that spot this morning. Be careful. Again, that's Almaville, 840 westbound, right at Almaville Road. Other news, Texas Governor Greg Abbott says more than 20 agencies have joined in the search for victims of the flash flooding there. And he says the work won't end until every victim is found. He toured that site of Camp Mystic where 27 campers were killed yesterday.
And it was nothing short of horrific to see what those young children went through. And we will remain 100% dedicated, searching for every single one of the children.
There are still 10 girls and a camp counselor missing. The death toll overall is now over 100. And a related story out of Houston where a pediatrician, her name is Christina Probst, posted a Facebook message that went viral before she took it down. It said in part that Kerr County, Texas MAGA voters voted to gut FEMA and deny climate change. Quote, may they get what they voted for, bless their hearts. Dr. Probst was fired from her job, and her employer condemned the comments, saying in a statement to families of the practice that it doesn't condone any statement that politicizes tragedy. Another dust-up between ICE and L.A. Mayor Karen Bass after ICE agents protected by National Guard troops descended on MacArthur Park in L.A. on a federal immigration sweep. Bass arrived on the scene and demanded that ICE agents leave immediately. Border Patrol Chief Gregory Bovino speaking to Fox News.
The federal government is not leaving L.A. I don't work for Karen Bass. The federal government doesn't work for Karen Bass. We're going to be here till that mission's accomplished, as I said. And better get used to us now.
Authorities have confirmed that no one was detained in yesterday's sweep. The area is known as a stronghold of MS-13 gang members. A warning from firefighters over those lithium batteries after a Hendersonville's family's garage lit up in flames while they were charging their golf cart.
There could be a bomb, like, in your house, in your garage, you know, like in everyone's house.
Firefighters say don't overcharge devices and perhaps charge cars and golf carts outside. BNA opens for the first time today that long-awaited Concourse D. WSMB's Holly Thompson.
The new expansion comes with 5 new Southwest gates and 8 new places to shop, eat, and drink. A rotunda offers panoramic views and access to an outdoor terrace as well.
And a separate part of that $3 billion improvement project will see more parking there at the airport. Market numbers brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com. Dow futures minus 67 right now, but the NASDAQ futures are up 44, S&P futures gaining 3. That is the latest news, traffic, and weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News. Police are still out there on I-840 in the westbound lanes this morning before Almaville Road. It is police activity. Not really sure what that means, but traffic is stop and go from Veterans Parkway through that exit this morning. The Hermitage at 40 westbound at Central Pike, there's a crash there and it's in the Gore. Also Brentwood, they're working in the roadway on Concord Road westbound past Green Hills Boulevard, and only one lane is open to traffic there. Talbot's Corner 65 southbound, right at I-24, you've got a crash that blocks the Gore. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
#807, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. What to do with all those Palestinians? So at the end of the last hour, I was telling you, and I got a fascinating story that I'm going to get to very quickly regarding Marco Rubio. And as a matter of fact, have you heard this story? Joan Jones about Marco Rubio?
Not sure.
Stay close, Joan.
Okay, I am close. I'm leaning in.
We're gonna talk about that here in a little bit. Marco Rubio, an amazing story. But first, what in the world do we do with all the Palestinians? Now, we had this conversation about Donald Trump and about how Benjamin Netanyahu told Donald Trump last night, I played you the audio, that he is going to nominate Donald Trump for a Nobel Peace Prize. And so that's a great moment between Netanyahu and President Trump. And so then this led to a discussion in front of reporters about his foreign policy and about all of the things that he wants to do, which ultimately the thing that Donald Trump wants to do is he wants to end all the wars, which of course is ironic because you had all of these knuckle draggers on the left that were saying that Donald Trump was going to be the guy that starts all the wars. So here we are, and he's trying to find a way to get that ceasefire between Hamas and Israel in Gaza. But there also has to be a decision made about once that ceasefire happens, then how do you rebuild Gaza and what do you build it into? That is the big question. Everybody knows that Donald Trump thought about trying to come up with some sort of a resort-style development for the Gaza Strip. The question is what to do with all of those Palestinians. This is what the president had to say.
I think President Trump had a brilliant vision. It's called free choice. You know, if people want to stay, they can stay. But if they want to leave, they should be able to leave. It shouldn't be a prison. It should be an open place and give people a free choice. We're working with the United States very closely about finding countries that will seek to realize what they always say, that they want to give the Palestinians a better future. And those who, and I think we're getting close to finding several countries, and I think this will give, again, the freedom to choose. Palestinians should have it. And I hope that we can secure it close by.
And we've had great cooperation from surrounding Israel, surrounding countries, great cooperation from every single one of them. So something good will happen.
So we'll see what happens with the fine people of Gaza. Remember that Trump spoke of that rebuilt Gaza Strip making into like a tourist type of attraction or region, as opposed to the massive pile of rubble that it currently is and more than likely will continue to be. But I've done interviews with folks that are a lot smarter than me to talk about the Palestinians and why, even though the president, and you know what, he's always an optimist. I love that President Trump is an optimist. But honestly, there have been a lot of these nations in the Middle East that want nothing to do with none of these Palestinians, man. You know why? because, as Stephen Bucci once said from the Heritage Foundation, Palestinians, they're awful house guests because they come into these other nations and they try to take over. And I mentioned in the 5 o'clock hour when we spoke about this previously, look what they do here. Look what a lot of these Palestinians do when they come here. They're protesting in the streets and, death to America, death to Israel. I mean, all of those things. So I understand why those nations don't want them. The Biden administration at one point spoke about bringing some of these Palestinians here. I don't know where we are with that, but remember the whole point of this. The whole point of this is that Donald Trump deserves a Nobel Peace Prize because of all that he's done. You had the conflict between the DRC and Rwanda. You had the conflict between India and Pakistan, done, both of those done. You have, of course, the Abraham Accords. The president is working on expanding those, the Abraham Accords, maybe with Syria, trying to normalize relations with Israel. Some people are going insane and saying that Iran or Iran, whatever, may be joining the Abraham Accords as well. I don't see that happening, but we'll have to see what happens. Trump was also asked about sending more weapons to Ukraine. This was a shocking answer to some. Will you, President Trump, be sending more weapons to Ukraine? The answer was short, sweet, and direct.
We're going to send some more weapons. We have to. They have to be able to defend themselves. They're getting hit very hard now. They're getting hit very hard. We're going to have to send more weapons. Your defensive weapons, primarily, but they're getting hit very, very hard. So many people are dying in that mess.
Yeah, so this is going to be a bone of contention, I believe, with Trump supporters. Hey, real quick, let's, KGB, let's go ahead and change the Daily Dan poll a third time. Real quick, let's talk about the end result of the previous poll where basically, Joan, the question was, do you care about the Epstein files? And by and large, most people were like, we got a lot of other things to worry about. Some people said no. Some people said yes, it's very important. What are the final numbers on the Epstein files?
Do you want to guess?
No.
All right. 45% said yes, 23% said no, and 32% said a little, but there are other things to worry about.
All right. Now, here's what I want to know from people. Are you disappointed that Donald Trump is going to send more weapons to Ukraine? Because remember, a big bone of contention with the MAGA faithful, with Joe Biden, has been that we don't want to send any more weapons to Ukraine. We don't want to give them any more money. Blank check is not a policy, right? Remember all of that. Well, now Donald Trump is effectively, could be accused of doing the same thing, but I don't believe that he is. I don't think that he is. And you know why? And I'm not making excuses for Donald Trump, but what I am saying is that for the President Trump, as opposed to Joe Biden, clearly Trump is trying to do everything he can to end this. That's the big difference between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. Biden was, number one, a shell of a president. Number two, he refused to speak to Vladimir Putin, and all he had to do and all he would do was write checks and send ammunition and bombs and all that kind of stuff to Ukraine, but never tried to broker a solution. At the very least, Donald Trump is trying to broker a solution between Vladimir Putin and Ukraine and Vladimir Zelensky. They just can't get there. As I said before, these two nations cannot get the hell out of their own way. And Donald Trump clearly, as I said, he name-checked Vladimir Putin a couple of different times in all of this. So, I mean, part of the question, I was talking to somebody about this the other day. All right, so if Putin is not going to end things, if Putin is just going to keep doing what Putin is going to do, then is it time, somebody suggested this, is it time to give Vladimir Putin the Iran treatment and get really serious about dropping some really serious weaponry on Russia? Now, I don't believe that is the way to go, but at some point, somebody's going to have to do something. Because we're going to fall into the same trap that Joe Biden did, which is we're going to give Ukraine just enough weaponry not to win and not to lose. And on it goes. And Donald Trump keeps saying that what he wants to do is save lives. So I think that there has been some disappointment in what Trump has had to do with this conflict, because remember, the president said that he was going to solve this conflict on day one within 24 hours. Now, clearly, obviously, I don't think that the president was expecting such pushback from Vladimir Putin, but that is indeed the case now. So now this is going to be a more diplomatic effort, and we'll continue to cover that for you. I think there, again, disappointment regarding not only Vladimir Putin, but also some disappointment with the president sending more arms to Ukraine. So we'll keep you updated on that story and a whole lot more, including one really interesting story about Marco Rubio. And it's coming straight ahead after the traffic on WTN.
Accident blocks the door at the on-ramp. I'm Christy O'Brien.
8:16 on Nashville's Morning News. As far as your weather today, 92 and scattered thunderstorms. Appreciate you listening to Nashville's Morning News. By the way, 92 degrees is going to feel like, up towards 100, or as Joan Jones likes to say, hot and sticky.
That's right.
So you know what's going on with Marco Rubio?
He's the funniest guy you know?
No. No.
Who was it? That was Robert Kennedy Jr.
Yes.
Said he's the funniest guy. Yeah.
Yes. There is an imposter using artificial intelligence to mimic Marco Rubio in efforts to contact leaders, world leaders and governors. Seriously. Washington Post is now reporting this, that unknown individuals are contacting foreign ministers, U.S. lawmakers using AI-generated voice and text messages. A person impersonating U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio used artificial intelligence to send voice and text messages to senior political figures, the Washington Post reported on Tuesday, just a little bit ago. The imposter contacted at least 5 individuals, including 3 foreign ministers, a United States state governor, and a member of Congress, using the encrypted messaging app Signal and text messages that mimicked Rubio's voice and writing style, the report said, citing a State Department cable and senior U.S. official. That is crazy. I mean, he's the Secretary of State. It's not like he has the ability to send us into nuclear war.
Right.
But still, they say this whole thing began in mid-June. Do you think you could recognize someone? Like if I called you, Joan, if I called you and somebody was using, artificial intelligence to mimic my voice and my speaking pattern, do you think you'd recognize that it wasn't me?
I would hope so. But I have to say, this is used so frequently. It happened to my parents. They got a phone call that said that it was my nephew, Jordan, and that he was in jail and he needed money and he needed them to drop it, very quickly. And he was desperate. He was crying, desperate.
Right.
And they obviously are older. Or at the time, they were probably in their 70s, late 70s. And they fell for it. They didn't take any money anywhere because they used another phone to call my brother. But they're so good at it. The technology that's used to mimic somebody's voice is really very good.
What I'm trying to figure out, so if somebody calls and they're trying to pretend that they're somebody else, right?
Mm-hmm.
So do you speak through like a computer program, and so I speak with my own voice, but it comes out on the other side like Marco Rubio? Or
I think that's the way
are
it
they
works,
all
yeah.
canned responses and you just hit a button for the response?
Oh, that's a good question.
I don't know how it works.
I don't know either, but
I would love to figure that out.
These people don't know Marco Rubio like my parents know their grandson, So anybody could probably say it's Marco Rubio and get away with it because they don't know him.
Yep. No, you're right. You're right. Although, if you know Marco Rubio, you know his speaking pattern. Did you know that?
Yeah.
Did you know that? I think we've spoken about this before. Did you know that someone's speaking pattern and their voice is, I believe somebody said, it may have been me, that it is as unique as your fingerprint? Did you know that?
I didn't know that, but if you're a customer of, at least I know Verizon does it, you can use your voice to access your accounts and stuff like that. There's a voice identifying feature.
Right.
So, yeah, I would think it probably is.
Do you know who had the greatest voice ever?
James Earl Jones.
Okay. Do you know who had the second greatest voice ever?
Morgan Freeman.
Do you know who had the third greatest voice? Rush Limbaugh.
Oh, yes.
Rush Limbaugh.
Yeah.
The way that he spoke was just, he had that flair about him that, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And I think about, do you know what did I mention this the other day? So I had to drive to Kentucky, and I, for whatever reason, got a wild hair, and I just pulled up an old random Rush Limbaugh show on YouTube or wherever it was from, like, I don't know, 2022, 23, somewhere. And I just listened to it.
Yeah.
Just because I miss his voice so much.
I do too.
Yeah. And man, he was just so good. He and, of course, Uncle Phil. And I miss their voices. But the flair that he had in his voice, the way that he enunciated, was so incredibly unique. And I think everybody has that kind of little uniqueness about their voice. And it may be so small, so sort of like incrementally barely noticeable, but it is there.
Yeah.
And that's why I do find this very interesting, because I've always been tuned into people's voices, because I work in radio and I've always been fascinated by that. So anyway, I got to find out how that works. Like if
I'm sure it's available online. Like you can probably understand it by finding something online.
You know what?
You're going to do that right now.
Let's crowdsource this, like Chris Hand always says. Does anybody, Sean? Okay, now people are talking about great voices, right? Sean Connery.
Yeah.
Paul Harvey.
Yes.
3581 says, easy, Dan, you're getting high pitch. That's one of my uniqueness in my voice, is its ability to go high pitchedness at a moment's notice. Chris Hand can tell you how it works, I'm sure, says Mike H. Probably, actually. So 9270, because I want, does anybody know how this works?
Hold on. Jason says, don't kid yourself, Dan. Joan isn't accepting your call outside of work hours.
Whatever. So it says, 9270 says you can either speak to talk, it translates for you, or you can type it and the AI speaks it.
Oh.
Who was it? Chris Hand. He did a thing with me out going on that Disney cruise. Remember that whole thing?
Oh, yes.
When he did Donald Trump and he talked about me going on a Disney. I didn't go on a Disney cruise. But it's kind of funny how I keep having to throw in the I did not go on a Disney cruise disclaimer every time that comes up.
You can keep saying it doesn't make it true.
So defensive.
I didn't go on a Disney cruise.
You're acting like a Democrat. Just deny.
Oh, look at the time. 8:24, Nashville's Morning News.
Another Democrat game.
David Attenborough has the best voice. Christopher Walken had a great voice.
Sam Elliott, yeah.
Yeah, but Sam Elliott's problem is he's like way too much of a liberal.
Yes,
so
agreed.
everything he says, as beautiful as it sounds, makes him sound like
What's
a
the
dummy.
guy's name that did the movie trailers in the 90s? Like In a World guy? You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, who was the In a World guy?
Oh, yeah.
He had
In
top
a
10
World.
vote, yeah.
Yeah, that's a quick Google search. I'll find that.
Text line, do your thing.
Yeah, who was the In a World guy?
Don LaFontaine?
No.
He just did the trailers in the 90s for like everything.
The In a World guy. Who was the In a World guy? Who was the In a World guy?
Don LaFontaine.
Is it Don LaFontaine? Okay. Do you know what he used to do? This was way before home studios and all that, he would take a limousine from one voice actor studio to the next. He would just take a limousine from place to place to
I
place to
love
place.
it. That's awesome.
Oh, yeah. He was, all right, I got to go. It's 8:25 on Nashville's Morning News.
My dad had a great voice, too. Just saying.
Yeah. Yeah. My
Except when he yelled at me.
I bet, do you know that my dad's been dead for 25 years? I can still hear his voice in my head.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can still hear it. So, all right, Joan, what's coming up?
Okay, so more thunderstorms possible today. Yesterday, they actually caused flights to be grounded. Also, we'll tell you why Watertown residents say they were blindsided by the mayor. That and more coming up here at 8:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
8:26, and listen, if you're a business owner and you've got concrete floors and they don't look very good, you know that is a reflection on your business. My friends at Specialty Coatings, they can help you with your floors. Now, here's the deal. They've been doing this for a long time. They specialize in concrete floor coatings and polished concrete. So in other words, look, if you're at your work right now, your business, take a look at your floors. And if they look like crap, then that's going to be a reflection on your business. They've been helping businesses for 30 years look better. Now, you've probably walked on some of their incredible concrete floor coating. We're talking about their work in all the major sports stadiums, the arenas, the convention centers, not only in Nashville, but across the state of Tennessee. Just last year, Specialty Coatings in Nashville installed over 1 million square feet of coatings for businesses across the state. Now, those buildings include manufacturing, warehouses, airplane hangars, retail, and so much more. Now, Specialty Coatings isn't some fly-by-night company. A couple of guys show up with a bucket and a roller. No. At Specialty Coatings, they've got the equipment and the skilled installers. So your job is going to be on time and on budget. No matter how bad your floor looks, Specialty Coatings can fix it. And each project is customized to your building, your business, and your needs. Call them. As always, important you tell them Dan told you to reach out. 615-591-9491. 615-591-9491. Email them, sales@specialtycoat.com. The website, specialtycoat.com. $8:28, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I want to tell you about my friends at Vision for Life. Now, they are celebrating 20 years of 2020. Since 2005, Dr. Jeff Horn has provided thousands of patients 20/20 or better vision. Dr. Horn's expertise and dedication made him a leader in cataract, LASIK, and other vision correction surgeries. He's the guy that I turn to for my vision correction. I've never been happier with a procedure. Now, Dr. Horn's commitment to providing the best possible patient experiences, in addition to the most advanced technologies in vision correction. I did read it appropriately. It just didn't come out right. The most advanced technologies in vision correction has made Vision for Life one of the premier vision correction centers in the world. So call them. Tell them I told you to reach out at 615-436-2020. 615-436-2020. Find them online anytime, visionforlife.com.
Good morning. It's now 8:30. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. More than 100 people now confirmed dead in flood-ravaged parts of Texas as the search for the missing continues today.
It's mostly at recovery. And I spoke to some rescuers yesterday, and they said, yes, there is some hope. You know, the weather is warm. It hasn't been pouring. Hypothermia is typically the biggest detriment to survival, and that's not the case here. However, they are losing hope of finding any survivors at this point.
ABC's Matt Gutman there. President Trump will take a tour of that area today. We may have more thunderstorms rolling through this area again today. Here's WSMV4's Stefano DiPietro.
We're talking about more rain across the mid-state over the next couple of days. Hey, this will be great for your allergies across the mid-state because as we get that soaking rainfall, it does help the pollen count drop. Today, Wednesday, and Thursday look to be a pretty good wet stretch with hit and miss showers and thunderstorms as we work our way through each afternoon.
Now, yesterday's downpours, heavy winds, and lightning led to a ground stop at Nashville International Airport. The FAA lifted that ground stop at about 3:15, but it caused flight delays through about 8 o'clock last night. Now, the storms also knocked out power to about 9,000 NES customers just before 2, most of them in West Nashville. Residents of Watertown say they felt shocked and blindsided after seeing an 82.5% increase in their water and sewer bills this month. Heather Heck lives in Watertown. She spoke to News 2.
I was like, what? What? I thought there was something wrong at first.
Mayor Mike Jennings saying that the money will pay for improvements to the sewer collection system, which is already ongoing. He posted a notice about the hike in a local newspaper. Well, heads up for folks living along Iron Bridge Road in Columbia. You're going to lose power for about an hour tomorrow morning, starting around 9 a.m. Crews are going to be trimming trees around power lines. Money News brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com. The Dow Future starting off 64 points lower this morning, but the NASDAQ is up 50. S&P 500 index is up 1.5 points. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Thank you, Joan. Dan Mandis here at 8:32. And I want to tell you about my friends at Brentwood Jewelry. Listen, I don't care if it's a birthday, a graduation, an anniversary, whatever. The place you need to go to get your loved one or your family member a great gift is Brentwood Jewelry. There's a reason why their tagline is exceptional style, exceptional deals every day for over 50 years. It's because it is true. They've been proudly serving the Brentwood community with exceptional style and exceptional deals every day for over 50 years. And they love America. As a family-owned and operated business spanning 3 generations, Brentwood Jewelry, they are deeply rooted in this community. From Salem's service in Special Forces to his sons serving as local firefighters, the Amamali family is dedicated to giving back. In a time that it is imperative that you support local, shop my friends at Brentwood Jewelry. Again, if you need anything, watches, cufflinks, money clips, necklaces, bracelets, rings, earrings, you name it, Brentwood Jewelry has it. 7012 Church Street East, located in the heart of Brentwood, just off Franklin Road. Find them online, brentwoodjewelry.com. .834 on WTN. You know, the weather in Middle Tennessee can get crazy, which is why you need a backup home standby generator from my friends at the Generator Supercenter, the nation's #1 Generac generator dealer. You get a free quote. You get peace of mind when you have one of these installed. We're going to have storms today. We had some wicked storms yesterday. It's going to keep your power on, even if the power is out in your neighborhood. Again, a backup home standby generator from my friends at the Generator Supercenter is going to keep your lights and your power on. They do feature expert installation, 24-hour monitoring as well. They're not going to leave you in the dark. Financing is available. Call them. 615-879-1952. 615-879-1952. Generator Supercenter of Nashville.com.
Well, in downtown at Main Street at I-24, there is a crash this morning in Brentwood. They're working on the roadway on Concord Road. Westbound lanes past Green Hills Boulevard. You've got one lane available to traffic there. And at the Hermitage, 40 westbound at Central Pike, exit 221A. Watch for a crash in that spot, too. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.837, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Joan's here.
Yes,
KGB's here. And Chris is here. I'm here. We're all here.
We made it.
Looks like we made it.
Gosh.
What's going on? Are we going to do singing?
Oh, was that a bit? Singing Barry Manilow?
Did you kill that song?
Well, listen.
If it makes you feel better, I'd never heard the song before.
You never heard of Looks Like We Made It?
Barry Manilow?
No.
Wow.
He's too young, folks.
Yeah, I know.
I'm younger than him, and I know the song, but I didn't know. Honestly, I didn't know it was Barry Manilow.
I have a hard time respecting somebody who's never seen the Brady Bunch in its original run.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. I was like six.
I'm on Chris's side on that one.
All right, so
I watched the Grand Canyon episode.
Did you, when they rode the donkeys into the Grand
yeah.
Canyon, and then Mike got off the donkey and was walking kind of funny?
We did that last spring. Are you sure it was from the donkey? We did that last spring. We watched the Grand Canyon episode.
Yes.
As a precursor to our Grand Canyon trip.
If you don't know what Chris is referencing, just look up.
Don't be careful what you Google at work.
Just look up.
You should see the Google search on this computer.
Just look up Robert Reed.
Yeah.
And his escapades in Pasadena. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. Moving right along.
You might get something really weird
Chris.
if you search that, too.
Thanks to you yesterday, I had to look up Obama's sperm picture on this computer. So
yeah, that happens.
Yeah, there was that. All right. All guys have to then ask the same question. Jan or Marcia?
Oh, I don't know. I feel awkward because they were both minors.
Topanga from Boy Meets World.
Oh, that's a good answer.
Okay, I don't understand what that means, but okay,
Yeah.
whatever.
Only.
I have a hard time respecting people that don't understand the finer points of Boy Meets World.
Boy Meets World is one of the GOAT shows.
It is.
It's amazing.
All right, Joan, have you seen this alleged great show?
Alleged? How dare you?
You mean Brady Bunch?
No, Boy Meets World.
Oh,
Boy Meets World.
Yeah, my kids loved it.
Yeah.
Far
Whatever.
better than the Brady Bunch.
All right, listen, the Brady Bunch, it all made sense when I was like 8. But since then, no.
It got a little
Not-
weird.
See, Boy Meets World had the love interest thing.
Yeah.
The cute, like, young child love interest thing.
And Eric is the funniest character at any show, maybe ever.
Okay, so Valerie's calling BS. She says, I don't believe Chris has never heard Barry Manilow.
No.
You've never actually heard Barry Manilow? You never have?
No, I've heard Barry Manilow, but I haven't heard that song in question.
You've okay.
What?
Well,
I love the law terms. Song in question.
and Suzanne says, Dan, I loved that song, but I'm 75.
So are you, Dan.
Oh.
I'm sorry. Was that too soon?
Too harsh.
Too harsh?
It's too close, man.
Couple of years away. Come on.
Couple of years away. All right, Chris, you said that you, by the way, did you know, we're talking about voices. I didn't know this. Did you know that Rush Limbaugh worked really hard to get rid of his Midwestern dialect, I guess?
Really?
Yeah, I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
I did that to get rid of my Boston accent.
You got to still work, man, because you got it there.
Every now and again it comes out, but for like a year and a half, I read street signs out loud on my way to work.
Did you this job?
No, not to this job.
Oh, okay.
To in Boston when I worked for Kiss 108.
Because you still like you've got a weird. And I'm not telling you anything you don't already know, but you've got like a Canadian Boston thing going on.
Yeah, he says out.
Yeah,
Out.
I have a
What
couple
about
things that I
Haba?
couldn't. There's a couple things I couldn't get rid of, but be thankful I'm not on here going, guys, this is wicked pissa. You don't understand, dude. Guy, let me tell you.
Going to the Haba?
Say hi to your mother for me, all right?
Oh my lord,
Guy.
Yeah, you know what? If you did that, you probably wouldn't be here.
So to get rid of the accent, did you have to stop going to Dunkin' Donuts?
No, I did not.
Do you find yourself speaking in that accent like when you're around family or people who you knew back then?
It slips out a little bit around family, but more like the angry northerner personality traits come out than the accent.
When my mom's angry, her
When you're
Brooklyn
driving?
accent comes out.
But back when I used to drink, it would be like, third beer in, and it would be like,
Yeah.
oh, here's Boston Chris.
Boston Chris.
I mean, my ex was from Boston.
Oh,
and
yeah?
so when she get mad at me, oh boy, man, she'd be parking the car like all over the place.
Parking
It's
the
like
car.
Ricky Ricardo. I
Yeah.
keep dating myself with these references. I love
Seriously,
Lucy.
dude.
Do you know who
Anything-
Ricky Ricardo is,
Yes,
Chris?
yep,
Thank
yep.
you for the assist.
I don't.
My
So-
11-year-old loves I Love Lucy. It's like one of her favorite shows.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, you're raising her right.
We do what we can.
So whenever Ricky Ricardo gets mad, he just starts going into Cuban.
Yeah.
He's Cuban, right?
Yes.
Cuban.
Okay, whatever.
Cuban.
So you had something for this, didn't you, Chris? You said you DM'd it to me?
I did. I DM'd you a clip. So there's a lot of reviews coming out. Are you excited about the new Superman movie?
There's a
I
new
was.
Superman
No.
movie.
I was excited for
There
it.
is. It's coming out on Friday.
Do you say you DM'd it to me in Twitter?
Yeah. I DM'd you a clip in Twitter.
Wait, no. Are you going to
I-
ruin the movie for
I
me?
slid into the DMs.
Yes.
Oh, there it is.
Wait,
All right,
is
I'm
this?
right.
is this gonna-
Reviews are starting to come out, and they're calling it woke,
Oh no.
terrible,
trash.
terrible, superficial, and overstuffed. And then I found this clip of overstuffed.
I've never heard of overstuffed, but
I was going to see this movie.
what does overstuffed mean?
Google escapades in Pasadena. so, so, so anyway,
Yes.
these reviews are starting to come out, and
Yes.
they're calling it woke. And then I found this clip from the director, and I'm wondering, like, are they sending these guys to like marketing school on how to trash your film before it hits theaters?
Yeah.
All right,
They
so
must.
this is Sean Gunn.
Is it Sean Gunn or is it James Gunn? It's James Gunn.
Probably James
and James Gunn is the director, and he's talking about how great this movie is because Superman's an immigrant.
It is exactly what the movie is about, I think, that like we support our people, We love our immigrants. Yes,
Okay.
Superman is an immigrant. And yes, the people that we support in this country are immigrants. And if you don't like that, then you're not American. People
Wow.
who it is exact.
So I guess we're not American. By the way, so Superman is an immigrant. Where's he from?
Krypton.
Krypton.
He's a gosh darn alien.
He's here illegally.
He's an illegal alien, literally. The exact definition.
And
He's also
if I
effeminate.
recall correctly, there was that one Batman episode where it was all about Superman taking his job.
There was that. I forgot. What did you just say? That Superman was effeminate?
It's effeminate.
Says who?
In the current movie that's coming out?
In the new movie.
They made him effeminate.
It kind of looks good, though.
Little
I might still
fancy.
see it.
A little fancy pants, is he?
Little fancy.
Okay.
Also, Crypto, they made Crypto kind of a weak dog.
What do you mean?
They should have made Crypto. Crypto is supposed to be like
Kryptonite.
like a white yellow lab.
But it's a white.
Crypto's a dog.
Yeah.
It's
got it.
it's a white dog in the comics and everything.
Yeah, but they made him like a terrier.
Yeah, it should have been a
Okay.
bigger dog.
Yeah.
But they could just make him
German
white.
Shepherd.
There you go.
A white German Shepherd. That probably would have been perfect.
That would have flowed.
So
that's what it looks like. And there's a cartoon about crypto too. It looked just like it.
So what are the reviews saying? Just that it's overstuffed,
among
other things.
Woke. Popular website The Daily Beast, for instance, released a damning new piece entitled "The Terrible New Superman Movie is the Final Nail in the Grave for the Superhero Genre," before pulling it down after it went live. They're trashing this movie.
And is it because it's woke? Like if they made Superman effeminate, okay, well that's dumb. But whatever. Because and do you know why it's dumb? It's dumb because the original Superman wasn't effeminate. So they're trying to, Clark Kent, the original Clark Kent, was very unassuming.
Right.
But he wasn't, fancy pants.
Right. He was kind of a nerd.
He was a nerd. That's what I loved about the original Clark Kent, Christopher Reeves, is he was a nerd. He was really smart, and Lois Lane, and she was hot, and that whole thing.
Wait. You liked it? He liked him because Lois Lane. That's one of your defenses.
Superman got the girl.
All right, hold on. Okay, here's the big question: is there a Lois Lane in the new Superman?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
All right. Is she?
She's pretty.
She's very pretty.
Okay, so she's like a normal. She's not like a.
She's not a supermodel or anything.
Yeah.
But like
good.
she's naturally gorgeous, like not artificial, not superficial or anything.
Okay, you talk about how woke this is, so then it wouldn't surprise me if Lois Lane was actually named Louie.
So the Daily Mail says Superman's hero is no brooding Snyderian Christ figure. Rather, he's a sweet and sincere do-gooder who uses the word dude, takes time out of fighting behemoths to save squirrels from harm, and believes that viewing everyone as beautiful is punk rock.
What?
Yeah.
What does that even mean?
Punk rock?
Viewing people as beautiful as punk rock?
I don't want my Superman to even be talking about punk rock.
I don't even know what that means.
Nor do I
Superman
want
is
him to be rescuing squirrels.
Superman's a Boy Scout.
He grew up in Kansas.
Do you want to know what put
He's
the
a
nail?
farm boy.
So I'm reading all these bad reviews, but do you want to know what put the nail in the coffin that this is a movie I shouldn't see?
What's that?
The UK Sunday Times also broke the review embargo. They called the film a triumph. And I said, that's it. I'm out.
A triumph?
I'm
It's a
out.
superhero movie. For God's sakes.
Send him to Rwanda.
Henry Cavill,
Or
where
whatever
are you?
third country you want.
We need Henry Cavill back.
Enjoy Sudan, you illegal alien.
So the guy that was raised on a farm in Kansas is all of a sudden this like New York like woke politician.
Yeah. Yep. You got it.
Way to go, James Gunn. I liked you for
I was
in
bummed
Guardians.
too. He did a good job on the first Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
And then I was looking forward to this. It's my son's birthday this weekend,
was.
and I was like, man, maybe we sneak out and go see the new Superman movie, but I can't now.
So apparently the new Jurassic Park is trash too.
Oh.
Well, they should have stopped making those a decade ago.
So Amy was
Yes.
telling me about it because I desperately wanted to go see Jurassic Park.
What number are they on? Like
this
17?
This is going to be the 7th. It's the 7th Jurassic Park. They did
four too
3
many.
and then 3. So this is the 7th. And I think it's the 7th. Joan, you might have to fact check me on this.
Okay.
So, but apparently in this particular Jurassic Park, one of the characters whose name Scarlett Johansson. Apparently Scarlett Johansson, from what Amy tells me, actually somehow turns into a velociraptor.
No, shut up.
Well, the point,
Is that real?
Well, that's what Amy said. That's what she said. That's what Amy said. And so, if so, then how many different ways can you have people look? Oh, wow, it's a brontosaurus. You know what I mean? It's like there's only so many different ways to do the same skit. So, of course, the next logical step is to turn humans into velociraptors.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what they're doing?
That's what Amy said. I hope she was not messing with me
what
on
are
that.
what are your pronouns if you're a velociraptor?
Sir.
Whatever noise they make.
Clip that.
Apparently, yeah. Apparently, this is the number 8 Jurassic Park.
Oh, that's too many.
Yeah.
Okay.
Stop. Okay, after 3, again, I don't know. Star Wars ruined it for everybody because once they made 6, everyone was like, oh, we got to make 20. And ruined movies because nothing's original anymore. Everything's a remake or a sequel.
Yep. 100%.
In some places it says 7, others say 8. So
I don't think it's 8. I think it's
think
you
it's
had
7?
3 super texters help
Are
me.
we counting the Lego series?
No, we're not counting the Lego series.
All right.
So you've got the 3.
All right. Tell me how you really feel.
You've got the 3 with the first 3 with
Hold on, I have all of them here. You ready?
Sure.
Okay, so you've got Jurassic Park in 1993.
The only good one.
The Lost
bless it.
World was
Yeah.
97. Jurassic Park 3 was 2001.
Right.
The
and
Revenge.
Then, and then,
Jurassic World 2015.
yeah.
Jurassic World Camp Cretaceous 2020.
It's Cretaceous.
Is that the one where all the kids got eaten?
Oh, that's a TV series.
Oh.
Never mind.
Oh, that's
We're back to 4.
Fallen Kingdom 2018.
Yep.
Short film Battle at Big Rock was 2019. I don't know if you can count that.
That doesn't
though.
count. We're talking about
I'm
cinema.
already exhausted.
Chaos Theory 2024, and that was
Magic the Gathering included in that too.
all right. The
Chaos
Prologue 2021.
For the love of all that is holy.
World Dominion
Okay,
2022.
we could just stop.
Everybody loved the prologue.
Rebirth.
There were 6. There were 6. Please take my word for it. There were 6,
Okay.
including today's that's out this week.
That's
That is
5
number
too
7.
many.
So
Are you going to watch the Lego series?
No.
The only
on the Disney cruise ship.
this is kind of like Jaws. Remember Jaws had like 6? Like there was like Jaws the Revenge.
This time it's personal.
Yeah.
Remember
So
that
they had
one?
a Jaws the
Jaws.
Revenge where the Jaws, like son of the original Jaws, went after the family of the guy that killed the original Jaws. That was a real storyline. That I'm not making that up.
I was joking with my kids. I was like, have you seen Jaws 4? They're like, there's a Jaws 4? I was like, yeah, baby Jaws. I was like, there's a lot of them and they're hungry. And you're going to get eaten, but it's going to take longer.
And the song is Baby Jaws,
Shark,
Baby Jaws.
Baby Shark, Baby Shark.
Do.
Have you, we used the term fancy pants earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you've heard that? You've heard that?
I've heard the term.
Somebody
fancy
actually called me
pants.
one time Dancy Pants.
I like that.
They did.
Okay.
Them's was fighting words, but I laughed wholeheartedly first.
Okay.
So I thought it was funny. If you can't laugh at yourself, then that's all I got.
We go to the
job,
tease with Joan.
if you can't, listen, if I couldn't laugh at myself, then I would be under the console in a fetal position. So, because there's just so much to laugh at. All right. What was I going to Google in Pasadena?
Escapades in Pasadena.
Escapades in Pasadena. All right. Joan, what's coming up?
We'll tell you how the flash floods in Texas are changing kids' camps around here. Also, the one thing that you don't have to do anymore at the airport. Those stories coming up at 9 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
And Chris Hand. All right, 8:53. Chris, what's coming up?
We're going to talk about the Epstein list. Of course, we're going to talk about the Epstein list. I know you don't want to talk about the Epstein list anymore. You're over it.
I'm done with it. But
we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about the ICE agents that were ambushed and the Democrats that are paving the way for more violence.
I think the Epstein list is far more interesting you talking about it because it was such a big part of your conversation and dialogue for so long.
I was really hoping that the government was going to come out yesterday and say that was not a real official release. And I was
still
totally
may.
going for that.
They still may.
After Carolyn Levitt going out there yesterday and defending them, I don't see that happening. So
Did you see Donald Trump, real quickly, the Donald Trump Truth Social, where he talked about how Dan Bongino and Kash Patel were going to get back down to business? Did not mention Pam Bondi.
It's interesting. That's a good
Did
catch.
not mention
That
Pam
is a
Bondi.
good catch.
All right,
Well,
gotta
she's got a Fox News show waiting for her down the road.
You know what? You say that, but I think that she's blowing a lot of credibility with that audience. I'm just saying. All right, got to go. 8:54.
It's always Newsmax.
Nashville's Morning News. You know, my upstairs bathtub does indeed have holes in it. It is ugly. It needs a lot of work. Enter my friends at Zintex. Now, if you've got a bathtub that does need work like mine, they've been in business since 2001. They are here to help you. Zintex. Now, they can remodel your shower, your bathtub. They can even convert your bathtub into a walk-in shower. Now, these types of home improvements can increase the value of your home, and Zentex can have it wrapped up in a day. Now, this is an award-winning company that offers lifetime warranties for both their products and their installation. You can make your bathroom safer with a walk-in shower complete with grab bars and a bench seat for the older folks in your life. So fix, remodel, or convert your tub into a shower today with Zentex. That phone number is 629-258-7747. They've got a great deal going on right now. You mentioned WTN. You get $1,750 off or no interest for 24 months, whichever works best for you. And also, no payments for 2 years. Zintex, Zentex.com. That is Zentex.com.